Mic check. Mic check. Michael? They're checking on you. Good morning. Happy hump day to everybody. We are hatless again because my sensitive scalp is still a little bit ouchy, so good guesses. Lighting's changed now. I never know how to fix the lighting. We're just going to look different every fucking day, so now it looks like I have dark black, jet black hair, and it doesn't show so much that it's not that thick. So there you go. 2 days in a row. What are we going to do about that? Do we quit? Move on? See how long the talk lets me stay up. Yeah, for those of you joining us on TikTok, enjoy the show for 20 or 32 minutes till they say, fuck you, and then we'll be out of here. What's up, Jen?
Hey. So,
Hey.
I mean, or you can wear hats when you're in the sun. That's
all right. That's
you can't.
You just came here to disparage me?
You act like that's new news. Like that's different than any other day.
All morning you've been hyping me up, telling me how much you appreciate working with me and how you consider me one of your best friends.
I'm going to start recording our calls that we have
and
in the
how
morning.
You journaled about how close we are.
Even though our California is a two-party consent state, I'm going to have to start recording these calls because none of that is true.
Check that out, guys. Jen doesn't believe in consent.
Not with you when you start.
Who's the feminist now, Jen?
I'm just an asshole.
That's true.
It has nothing to do with feminism. So
it's not really about it's just nobody can say. I get it.
No,
that's fair.
Yeah, it's not. You're not special.
Do you journal? Is that a thing that you do? No. Have you ever done that?
No.
What about a high school diary?
No, I didn't. Fun fact: I used to actually want to be a writer when I was like my first dream job was to be a writer.
What did you want to write? Romance novels?
No, I wanted to just be write news stories about things. I don't know.
Oh.
But then I wanted to be an attorney, but that was way too much school. So of course I settled for business. It just made no sense.
You would have been a good attorney. You would just walk in and scare the fuck out of people. They're like, yeah, whatever you want, that's fine.
I think I would have been too. There was way too much school. So
I've taken up journaling this year. That was a New Year's resolution for me, and I've been doing it. And I don't know if anybody else has this, but while you're writing things, you're like, fuck, maybe later on I'm going to regret that I wrote this down. That's the hardest part of journaling is actually being honest about your day and recognizing that later on that might be embarrassing, but that's okay. I don't know. Maybe we're doing therapy too much right now.
I mean, is there a guideline? Are there rules for journaling? How you're supposed to do that?
I don't know. I just decided to do it, and I never do it in one sitting. I'll do it in the morning when I wake up. Generally speaking, I'll do it sometimes there's a window between when the show ends and I have my daughter, and then before I go to bed. And even then, you can see that I'm just riding this roller coaster throughout the day, every single day. And it's I can go from the morning. I'm oh, well, that fucking changed. It's 2 p.m. and this feels worse. Or then it's 2 p.m. and I feel better. I don't
know. So, you just write about what happened or how you're feeling? I'm genuinely curious. I haven't.
Both. Yeah, both. It's more about, I've learned I don't know, this is a little deep, but, when you're raised how I was raised, you just repress things. My mom's boyfriend, I was talking to him, and he's just I've never met more people. I've never met so many people unwilling to experience anger, and I've never met a group of people that stuffs down anger more than Mormons, and that's born and bred into us. We stuff that shit down. We don't address it.
I could see that. There's lots of Mormons that. People who don't. I lived in Utah for 2 years, and then I ran.
Yeah,
because it's weird. But yeah, I could definitely see that. And anger is not repressed with me, so maybe that's why I don't do it.
You're good at anger.
I'm very at one with my anger. So
yeah. Well,
but
I'm not
yeah.
great. I'm not great with it. So it's mostly just like trying to write down shit that I don't want to say out loud or don't say out loud. That's mostly what it is.
But you still say shit out loud you're not supposed to say.
Not anger though, right? Just embarrassing shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the waterboarding thing, you'll say lots of shit that you're not supposed to. But
I'd be if somebody waterboarded me, I'm smoked. Johnny said no swear words allowed in super chats. What the fuck? I didn't know that. Is that true?
There's some things that won't come through. That won't be sent sometimes.
I got
I noticed that
Sorry.
with Venmos and stuff too. Like when way back when we would send those dirty jokes and stuff to make you read.
R.I.P. my Venmo. I can't even set up a new Venmo either. I tried, and they're like, "No, your ID has already been flagged. Like, I'm just not allowed to have Venmo because Can we say? Is it fair to say that it was Bree? There was somebody. Who was the other one that torched me all the time? Two people got my Venmo taken away, but we can probably blame it on Bree. Is that fair?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, that works for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, that was, so yeah, for you guys who don't know, the reason why we have my Venmo up there is because Jay's not allowed to have one.
Yeah.
So
Mom and Dad won't let me.
Yeah. But we can get started. So if everyone's watching on TikTok, if you guys could keep liking the live throughout, I haven't been reminding people as much, but if you can like the live, send your heart me's if you still have them. I don't know. Since you're in that gaming, whatever it is.
Not Zaza, Ivory. Not Zaza. Wrong Bree.
No, not that one.
I saw her. She was on with Admir. Admir sent me a screenshot. She looks great. Looks like she's doing really well.
She's out.
Really got it going. She's got it together.
I guess there's more racism claims. Another one.
Why does nobody talk about the fact that her fiance that is on the live with her all the time, like a year ago, 2 years ago, was her brother? Just like it's the same guy, and she used to be like, "This is my brother," and now it's the fiance. That's a nobody talks about that. Somebody should probably talk about that.
I don't know if a lot of people necessarily know all that lore.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe it's just me.
I mean that's a fairly nuanced piece of tea. So.
I guess. I
mean, Mother Gothel has a very interesting life.
Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
That's it. But so yeah, for TikTok. TikTok, if we can get the likes up to 50K likes, that would be awesome. Like I said, send your heart me. Still have them. I try to set small gift goals, which I haven't done yet. Help keep us up. We'll likely come down at some point today. So if TikTok goes down, Twitch and YouTube, we're still live over there. So if you guys want to join us there, subscribe to us if you haven't already. All paid members on whatever platform that you're watching can join us for members only events.
Are you laughing at Oslo?
Yeah, see, no, I laughed at some. I scroll up a little further. I laughed at someone's being.
Gotcha.
There's lots of fake attorneys on TikTok. Anyway, so if you're a paid member anywhere, you can join us for members only events. We have a new one coming up on this Monday. We're watching Hitler and the Nazis. So if you want to join us for that, be a paid member and be in the Discord. And then any opposite, they're usually not here this early. If you disagree with Jay, you can send me a DM on Discord. My username is the same as the Venmo. So Jen with 2 N's, Deb with 2 B's, the number 1. And I can bring you on. Gift goal. Knocks it out. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats. Go towards knocking that out. And check out the link in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. Jay's on Cameo. We upload this lives to.
I haven't done a Cameo in a while. I better check that.
Yeah, probably. There might be some there and you just didn't get to it.
Maybe I'll look right now while you're doing that.
While we're chatting. So so check out the link tree like I mentioned for all those fun things. And then I'll say it again, the gift goal. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats. Did you know frogs are notoriously cautious about parking regulations?
I was unaware of this.
Yeah, they don't want to get towed.
I did like that. I did like that. All right. Well, look, sometimes conservatives win, and we have to acknowledge that. I hate to start out the live this way, but occasionally they just do things better and they have better ideas, and we need to acknowledge that. And I think that is the case for the Super Bowl, as TPUSA has announced their counter to Bad Bunny. And who else is with Bad Bunny? Can't remember who else. Is it Green Day? Is it Green Day? Who's the other one? Who's with Bad Bunny? The Super Bowl. Green Day. It is Green Day. Well, TPUSA, try and compete with that. How are you going to beat Kid Rock? Brantley Gilbert, a name I definitely knew before I saw this. Lee Brice. I do know who Lee Brice is. My ex liked Lee Brice. Some song by Lee Brice. Can't remember what it was. And Gabby Barrett. I know who the fuck is Gabby Barrett? I don't know who that is. Anybody know who Gabby Barrett is? Let me move more into the center of the frame here. What is Gabby Barrett sing? That's got to all be country, right? Yeah, who? It's the who's who of who the fuck is that? That's what they think. And they're going crazy on Twitter. Check this shit out, dude. Who's going to actually watch the halftime show? The crazy thing is like, I'll probably watch this. I'll probably stream both of them. I have to see this. They're right. It's kind of must-see concerts. I know Kid Rock doesn't even really sing anymore. He just lip syncs. He can't sing like he used to. So that's I guess I have to find out if I probably don't have Real America's Voice. DW, what the fuck is DW Plus? TBN, is that the Turner broadcast? Charge? And the National News Desk. I guess you can watch on YouTube, X, or Rumble. So, and here's what they'll do. This is what's going to be amazing. I'm telling you already. This is all going to happen. It's not going to be that big of a deal. TPUSA that night is going to put out their total numbers from all the streams that they had across platforms, and then they're going to compare it to the TV numbers, just the TV numbers. And they'll be like, look, our halftime show got more viewers than the Super Bowl halftime show, which of course won't be true, because the ratings that are going to be released for the Super Bowl are going to be just TV numbers. It's not going to be streaming numbers. And most people are going to be streaming the Super Bowl. So just a little prediction there, and then you're going to have dumb maggots be like, yeah, how'd Bad Bunny go? That's what you get. That's what happens when you don't like Trump. And they're just going to float these dumbass numbers. She's from American Idol. Awesome. Carrie Unknown. Carrie Undervalued. Scary Underwood. What do we want to go with here? Harry Underwood? That doesn't sound right. Who am I and what have I done with RTP? You'll never know. I just sunburned my head, and so it hurts to wear a hat. That's all that happened. I haven't really been out in the sun without a hat, and then I went out on like the sunniest day, and my head got sunburned, and it hurts, and I'm kind of a pussy, so that's what happens. Just want to remind you, though, perhaps a different person would have been a better idea for the Super Bowl halftime show, given the amount of things that have come out in the Epstein files. This is for some lyrics from the song Cool Daddy Cool, which was from the Osmosis Jones soundtrack. I have to admit, I did have a Kid Rock CD, and I was a Kid Rock fan as a child. I can't say much about my musical choice. It was conservative. I'm sorry. I deeply regret it. I could sing most of Kid Rock's songs. I was a fan, but I don't remember this one. The lyrics are, young ladies, I like 'em underage, see? Some say that's statutory, but I say it's mandatory. Not great. That's your headliner? No. We're not in the Epstein files. We're totally. I know that Trump's spiritual advisor keeps getting. I know all these conservatives keep getting busted. with underage girls. And I know the ones that aren't conservative that get busted with underage girls then suddenly turn conservative and we protect them, but totally we're not the party of abusing children. Yeah. Was Osmosis Jones a kid's show? I don't know what Osmosis Jones was. I agree with that, Tiff. NFL should add Dropkick Murphys. Maybe they will. They might actually do it. And then also from the song, and I quote, balls in your mouth, which is fine. If you like balls in your mouth, I think that's terrific. Keep as many balls in your mouth as you'd like to. I think conservatives would probably disagree that you should put balls in your mouth, at least not publicly admitting it. Lyrics depict graphic, degrading sexual acts with women described in extremely objectifying terms, e.g. references to cruising for big butt sluts and explicit oral sex demands. It's often highlighted as peak misogyny in his catalog. That's actually a selling point for MAGA. They'll like that. What's that? No consent? Love it. Absolutely love it. R. Kelly was Osmosis Jones too? No. Did I see the Mormon church was in the files and the leader at the time met with them? Yeah, I did see that. I saw that. These are just lyrics, Hayden, from Kid Rock, the headliner of TPUSA. Ever since Charlie Kirk died, they have just fully embraced people that Charlie Kirk would at least have seemingly been against, specifically Nicki Minaj. But maybe they just needed to help Ben Shapiro out and add a little wetness to his life. And maybe that's why she's around. All right, I want to talk about Jerome Powell real quick. This is a statement from Jerome Powell. Good
evening.
Excuse me.
On Friday,
the Trump administration has opened up an investigation into whether or not Jerome Powell perjured himself when he testified before Congress about a $2.5 billion renovation project. Not because that happened, not because anybody cares, but because he won't drop interest rates for Donnie, and Donnie's real mad about that. And by the way, to MAGA, if they've gotten here yet, you're fucking welcome. You're fucking, you should be thanking Jerome Powell that he doesn't listen to Trump. Because what Trump is trying to do, as we've stated every day, is copy the Japanese playbook, which was when they got saddled with debt and when their population was below replacement levels, they decided that what they should do is lower interest rates to incentivize people to spend more. And what did that lead to? A crash of their currency and hyperinflation. So Jerome Powell doing all Americans a favor and not listening to Donald Trump, and by the way, and his board. Donnie got mad about that, and so now, like he's doing with everybody else, and so that he can smear everybody, he's going to introduce, excuse me, try to introduce a prosecution against Jerome Powell. Here's Jerome Powell's statement.
Good evening. On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned, in part, a multi-year project to renovate historic federal...
Unmuted. Bad idea, Siberia said, I wish Powell would listen to Trump so they can see the result. We'd all be fucked. And they still wouldn't know. We'd all be fucked, and they would blame Antifa or some shit like that. They blame Joe Biden or Obama. We definitely don't want that to happen. There's no amount of, maybe MAGA should live out their legislative fantasies so that they'll figure out that they're stupid. I don't have any faith that MAGA will figure out that they're stupid or wrong. Because I've watched them time after time where Trump does something, it blows up in his face just like we all said it would, and then MAGA's like, actually, this was Joe Biden's fault.
Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure.
Hey, thanks, Dixie. Never have you seen your live, but it definitely lives up to what I've heard. Just shitty material. Thanks for talking about me, and an obligatory suck my ass. Enjoy it while you're here. Sorry that these facts are hurting you.
This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a
I hear you,
consequence
Siberia.
of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. I have served at the Federal Reserve under 4 administrations, Republicans and Democrats alike. In every case, I have carried out my duties without political fear or favor, focused solely on our mandate of price stability and maximum employment. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats. I will continue.
I do like how they try and smear like Jerome Powell. And like, if you're at the Federal Reserve, you're an unabashed capitalist. They always try and paint these people as like far left. Nobody, they don't, you know who that never gets elected to the Federal Reserve? A communist or a socialist, ever. It's unabashed capitalists. And some of them might not be cool with like abusing children and violating the Constitution, so they may vote Democrat, but it's just funny to me the way that they smear these people. Like they're just doing math. They want our country to be successful. They want capitalism to thrive. They ostensibly have the same goals as Donald Trump. It's just that they can do math and he can't, and that makes him mad.
To do the job the Senate confirmed me to do, with integrity and a commitment to serving the American people. Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. So there's just one more person that the Trump administration is threatening to send to jail one more time. It never happens. They never send anybody to jail. I showed you guys that graphic yesterday. Just a reminder, actually. I'll pull it up from yesterday. I think I can find it. But it never happens. Why MAGA that you're here? Dixie, maybe you can answer this question. Could you answer to, since, you know, you're here to check this out, maybe you can bring some facts here. How come nobody you say is going to jail ever goes to jail? How much longer do we have to wait for any of these people to go to jail? Let's see if I can find this. Is it here? I might not be able to find it. Oh, no, here it is. I knew I could do it. How many people have gone to jail for the Russian collusion hoax? You know, that hoax where we investigated all the connections between the Trump campaign and Russia, and there were like 37 indictments, and Trump's campaign manager and top national security advisor both pled guilty. But yeah, that was a hoax for sure, right? And then you guys were going to catch us for that. You were going to get those dirty Dems. You were going to send Mueller to prison. How many arrests? Oh, 0. How about January 6th? Who have you gone after and arrested for January 6th? Remember, that was all staged. It was the FBI. FBI did that. It was Antifa. Where are those arrests? How about the Mar-a-Lago raid? Any arrests there? How about the Biden auto pen? Any arrests? 2020 election? Epstein arrests? Oh, we don't do that anymore. We don't really talk about Epstein anymore. COVID? What happened to shit? Now I can't remember his name. Fauci. Weren't you sending Fauci to prison? Wasn't he on his way to prison? Where are those charges? What about Hillary? Goddamn, Benghazi was more than a decade ago. Her emails, lock her up. She's going to prison. Where's that? Where's that not even an investigation? How about Doge? Doge uncovered all of these things. I went to California and I filmed an episode of Jubilee on Doge. I'd ask the people if they still talk to me, the Republicans on the other side of the aisle there, who all claimed that this was going to lead to mass arrests. What happened? Where'd those arrests go? How about the Ukraine impeachment hoax? Weren't we supposed to take down the Bidens for that? Oh, we're just going to keep believing it. It's going to happen. We know that it's going to happen. Jesus Christ. You guys know how to pick a loser. Pretty good at that. All right, I want to show you something that was actually pretty funny today. So Tom Tillis went on to CNBC, where you have Aaron Ross Sorkin and Joe Kernan. Joe Kernan is MAGA through and through, and Aaron Sorkin's like, I mean, he's just a moderate. He's a capitalist, but he's like not willing to lie. And so what they're talking about here is this investigation into Jerome Powell and how it seems, at least to Tom Tillis, to be pretty fucking silly and pretty fucking unwarranted. And Tom Tillis is just giving his opinion and telling the truth based on what he's seen. And Kernan accidentally lets it slip.
Turning with a dream, trying to please the president, coming up with a trumped up.
Sorry, that's quiet. Can I turn that up at all? Sorry, I can't turn that up any. It's going to be a little quiet.
Case against Jerome Powell that could undermine the credibility of the Federal Reserve. That is worth going to the mat for.
You're not supposed to say it. You're not supposed to say what's actually happening, Senator. Why not?
Senator, what are you doing? Why are you telling the truth? That's annoying. Stop doing that.
Because it normally, like I said, he's not running for re-election, so the truth will set you free. I mean, you're making you are judging the results of the investigation. You're prejudging exactly what's going to happen. That's your opinion. That's your opinion on. I know, but that's still your opinion.
I was an eyewitness to what they're charging, and what I'm simply saying is okay. I'll stipulate at face value that the legal course the case has to go through. Fine, let it go through. They're the ones who chose to do this. I'm not. All I'm saying is let's see the subpoena, let's see the case, and let's let it run through. If they've got a compelling case, I'll stand corrected.
You just said it's unusual for a Republican to tell the truth. Is that what you're saying?
Whoops. It's unusual. Is that what you said? Sorkin says unusual for a Republican. Yeah, of course it's unusual for a Republican to tell the truth. Of course it is.
Usual in Washington to be so factual about something that, that at this point it's the senator's opinion that this is.
It's
so unusual to be factual. What do we do with that?
Unusual in Washington to actually try and undermine the independence of the Federal Reserve. Find one more example in the history of the Federal Reserve. This is a historic and consequential position.
LBJ threw some Fed chair up against the wall and said, "I'm going to, rip your throat out or rip something off." So I mean, it's been done before.
Did he indict him?
No. The law, but again,
exactly.
But to conclude that it's lawfare, you have to be absolutely correct that there's no merit to the investigation whatsoever.
You know how hard it would be to be an honest Republican in media right now? That would be so incredibly difficult. And credit to Kernan here. I want to give him credit where Republicans don't normally deserve credit. Like, at least he is. At least he is being honest here. But what a fucking nightmare to be a Republican with a conscience in 2026.
And that most people would wait for the investigation to be over before they'd have a foregone conclusion.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I'm doing. I'm saying they've decided to launch a process, and I've decided it's appropriate to see it play out. The Chair Powell has a chairman role, and he also has a Federal Reserve role. And the perverse consequence of this is maybe Chair Powell will think about being on the board for 2 more years versus following the tradition.
That's what I wanted to ask.
This is untraditional.
Yeah. Whoops.
We've got some U.S. attorneys.
Truth's a motherfucker right now, isn't it? Difficult thing to deal with right now if you're a Republican. How are you guys doing with that? I saw J-Sex in here. Good to have you back, J-Sex. It was interesting. You said, this is one of the things we agree on. Where are these arrests? Perhaps, J-Sex, there was no crime committed. What do you think it would take for you to admit that there wasn't a crime committed? Or have you just decided the crime, it's been committed, and you're now also committed? You're like, I'm all in on this. What would it take? Good to see you, bud. Vance going to make a banger prez. Vance isn't a banger. We know that. I like your content and support you, buddy, but your chat is like a sewer. I hear you there. Something's happening. Might I recommend to head it over to Twitch? where it's a little bit less like a sewer. You don't want to deal with the white nationalists. Twitch is a better spot for you. Couch banger. Well done. Everybody immediately. From January 6th, actual proof? Yeah, like when is there, what's the actual proof that we should arrest somebody, like that somebody committed a crime on January 6th outside of the people who stormed the Capitol? I've never seen anything. I think if we're aware of anything now, it's that like there obviously is a deep state. Obviously exists. So it's not impossible for me to fathom that the FBI staged January 6th. But some evidence would be terrific at some point. It's the willingness to believe it without the evidence that makes me nervous about you, J6. I saw the videos of police peacefully escorting terrorists. Didn't seem like an assault at all. Well, but J6, you know that there was assaults too. I think this is willful ignorance a little bit on your part. And I don't think that you're being intellectually honest. I saw those videos too. I saw police, for example, the QAnon shaman. I watched police escorting him around the building. I saw that. I also saw people violently beating the fuck out of police. Now, I also read the testimony of those officers that were leading the QAnon shaman around, and they said we were leading him away. And what they realized, the police that day, and if you just go read the testimony, you can read it. They realized that they were overwhelmed, that there was no way that they were going to repel these people. So the next best option was to start removing barricades and opening doors that led them away from the chambers, because most people didn't know where the chambers were. So both of those things are true, but it seems like you go out of your way and only talk about that evidence. What about the evidence of people being beaten? Well, first of all, Chris Roberts, the QAnon shaman also said it. So not only the police, but the QAnon shaman. Again, though, like, I don't really need to believe the police there. There's not another narrative. What's the other narrative? You guys say, oh, you believe the police. What do you mean I believe the police against you guys saying that they were in on it? I need some evidence that they were in on it. And if your evidence that they were in on it is that they were leading people around, well, then how do I figure out the evidence? Where did those people eventually go? Did any of those people that the police were leading around go into the House chambers? No. They all left. Every single instance where the police were opening doors or removing barricades, you can look on the map. It was leading people away from where Capitol Police was worried they were going to go, which was the House chambers. And this was my problem all along with the January 6th Commission and the way that the Republicans handled this, is before they ever released any results, they were smeared. They basically told you all, do not believe the J6 Commission. And so none of you actually got to see any of this evidence. It's all new to you. As far as you've been told, there is no evidence. And the only evidence that matters at all is those videos, which you have no context for, and then a bunch of claims that the FBI sent people in there to stage it. I would just challenge you, JSEX specifically, go watch the January 6th Commission. Go look at go watch those hearings and see if you can pick apart what they said. And if you can, great, come back. Let's talk about it. And if you can't, then maybe it's time to reflect on, were they lying to me? Have some courage to challenge your own opinions. It's important to challenge your own opinions. Try it. All right, moving on. A close friend of mine, we've always had this discussion, like when it comes to apologies. The older I've gotten, the better I've gotten at apologies. Older too, and they
TikToker froze.
We'll give it like 30 seconds and then I'll just restart if we need to. Surprise, surprise, puppy surprise. It's fine on TikTok. Back? Okay. JSEC, let me go back to you, JSEC, before I get to this. You said, I can't take your word on this evidence nobody has seen based on your character. One, I'm not asking you to take my evidence on this. You can see this evidence. You can go view it yourself. I'm specifically telling you not to take my word on this. I'm telling you to go do the research yourself. That's what I'm saying. But with all due respect, my character isn't really something that you can assassinate. Am I a dick sometimes? Sure. Am I an asshole? 100%. Do I talk shit? Absolutely. Can you point to a time when I've lied? Probably not. Can you point to a time, like hundreds, maybe thousands of times that I've been live and apologized for being wrong or corrected the information live? Yeah, you could. And that's my problem, J-Sex, is like what you don't like about me, honestly, and what MAGA doesn't like about me, honestly, is not the information. It's not my character. It's not what I say. What you don't like about me is I'm on the other side of the aisle from you. And that's fine. But if you're unwilling to dive into this information, if you just want to hold on to your opinion, I worry about our country. I worry deeply about our country. I worry about people who put on the blinders immediately because the person delivering the message is on the other side of the aisle. You'll notice here, I almost exclusively use Republicans for my videos for that particular reason. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not running cover for Democrats. I just am reporting on what's happening. Anyways, back to this. People who apologize by saying, I'm sorry, but those aren't real apologies. And when you add but immediately after a definitive statement, you no longer can take that person seriously. Nobody should take Caroline Leavitt seriously, but here she is.
Referring to.
But to be clear, he does believe the state should oversee elections.
The president believes in the United States Constitution. However, he believes there has obviously...
What do you mean, however?
However, he believes there has obviously been a lot of fraud and irregularities that have taken place in American elections. And again, voter ID is a highly popular and common sense policy that the president wants to pursue, and he wants to pass legislation to make that happen for all states across the country.
There's the admittance. We like the Constitution. However, if the president not factually can back up, the president believes. The president feels something. So since the president feels this way, now we want to enact legislation that would go against the Constitution. And she's specifically talking about the SAVE Act. If you look at the SAVE Act on its face and what Republicans are telling you is that this act is about voter ID. I hate to break it to you. It's not. It's not about photo ID. What she's referencing that says is very popular is that people believe that, and I disagree with this, but it's a large number. It's like 80% of America thinks that you should have to have photo ID to register to vote. I disagree with that. I don't think a photo ID is better is a better piece of evidence than a birth certificate, a social security number, in order to register to vote. There are 0 states, not even Republican states, that require a photo ID to register to vote. They just verify your identity. You need some mix of documents to validate your identity. But I will tell you that the SAVE Act isn't really about that. And what you should always remember with this administration and with Republicans in general is these names that they put out there and the press releases that they put out there are simply not factually true, and they are hiding from the true intent of the SAVE Act. And we know this because Donald Trump will tell you what he thinks about the SAVE Act. He will tell you about the things he wants to avoid. One of the things that Donald Trump won't shut the fuck up about is mail-in voting. And we covered yesterday how mail-in voting looks like it can be hacked in elections. And there is significant evidence that in the 2024 election, somebody, Elon Musk probably, was able to get into the back end of these systems and create or switch or change votes. I invite anybody who disagrees with that to come up here and go over the evidence with me and give me a better explanation than what I gave yesterday. And if you give me a better explanation, great. That will make me feel better about the upcoming midterms because I want to believe in democracy. But you know that Donald Trump is against mail-in voting, and we also know that mail-in voting is something that you can manipulate. And if you can win an election without manipulating the ballots, that's better. So Donald Trump wants to, one, get rid of this backdoor, allegedly. Maybe he doesn't even want to get rid of the backdoor. But two, he wants to disenfranchise poor people across this country, especially poor people that come from historically marginalized communities, immigrants, African Americans, indigenous people, where records historically in those communities are not accurately kept, or people don't have access to these documents. A lot of times there's language barriers. People don't understand necessarily the importance of having a birth certificate, for example. I have a friend of mine who was adopted. She wasn't able to vote in this last election. She moved to Arizona and she was trying to vote, but her mom, that adopted her, will not give her access to any of her documents. And so she tried to register to vote like a week before the election, and she was unable to do so because the process of getting the documents that she needs can take months, sometimes years, and especially with the backlog that we have in the federal government. So there's some things that the Trump administration has done very sneakily to prepare for the SAVE Act here in order to make sure that they can suppress voters. One, they have taken the staffing down for the Social Security Administration and for any of these administrative places where you need to get documentation. So now the wait times for getting documentation are longer than they ever have been before. I'll give you a couple examples. If you go through court records, because there's been lawsuits both in Arizona and Kansas, there's 20 plus court cases. They show that when they enacted the law that was almost identical to the SAVE Act, that it blocked tens of thousands of eligible citizens. And what it uncovered was a handful, like under 20 people who that registered to vote, who registered illegally, whether they didn't have citizenship or they were here illegally and undocumented, a handful. So we disenfranchised tens of thousands to keep a handful of people from voting. Now, who were those people when they do these court cases? Who are those people who are disenfranchised? People in communities with historically bad record keeping due to historic underfunding. That's going to be poor communities. It's going to be marginalized communities. It's going to be Hispanic communities. TikTok goes down. TikTok, suck my dick every fucking day. TikTok, what did we get it for? What are the details here? Jesus fucking Christ, TikTok. And you know what? I'm going to win the appeal. They just know this. I'm going to win the appeal, and we'll be back tomorrow. That's crazy. All right, well, hopefully they find their way. Documentation, the documentation requirements in the SAVE Act. Again, what's up, Jen?
Misinformation, the same thing the last 2 days.
All right. I'm giving like accurate information. What a shit show. The documentation requirements that they're advocating for in the SAVE Act would disenfranchise, or at the very least deter, millions, and they've done studies on this, millions of Americans, citizens. And what Republicans now are doing, and you'll see it in this chat, what they're now trying to play like identity politics. Act says, why are other countries opening up new investigations into the files? Turkey, Lithuania, UK, Poland, but we don't think there's anything credible. Thanks as always, RTP and Jen. I'll get to that in a little bit, but great point. They've done the studies. They know what percentage of people don't have access to documentation. And a lot of these people have at one point registered to vote, but now what the SAVE Act is doing is requiring you to re-register to vote, knowing that there's about 10% of Americans that won't have the proper documentation to register to vote again. And if they need to get access to that information, the Trump administration is the ones that will process those requests. So imagine, as the Trump administration, they do everything above board, right? They wouldn't possibly want voter rolls so that as people request documentation, they take longer to give them that documentation, right? They would not possibly do that. Whether they will or they won't, the fact that there is now a way for the Trump administration to pick and choose who gets to vote in the midterms and in 2028 should be alarming to you, regardless of party affiliation. That should be alarming. Brianna said, why does Dr. Pepper come in a bottle? Because his wife died? How don't I get that? Why does Dr. Pepper come in a bottle? Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus. See, there's Patty Whacker right there. Exactly. See, this is what they'll do. And a great job being propagandized, Patty Whacker. That's crazy that I just said exactly what you guys were going to say. They're all going to say, oh, what? You're saying that these people are too dumb to get an ID? No, it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that now we've put into a process that even if they start trying to get their IDs now, they may not get proper documentation before the midterms. And if people don't jump on it right now, because most people don't know about the SAVE Act, people are going to go and it'll come around for early voting and they'll wait for their ballot. They'll be like, why the fuck did I not get a ballot? And then they'll look it up. They're like, oh, I need to register to vote. And 10% of those people aren't going to have the documentation required to register to vote. And there's not enough time for them to get that documentation to vote. This is what the SAVE Act is doing. Don't allow dumb Republicans to tell you that like this is about making sure that illegal immigrants can vote. You can look back at our elections. Almost no illegal immigrants vote. And most of the time, almost every time, we catch them. And their votes don't count. This is a voter suppression bill, and Republicans are lying about it. And they're using xenophobia to hide from their true intentions. Documentation, I got that part. So the Brennan Center estimates that over 9% of voting age citizens, which is 21.3 million people, do not have easily accessible citizenship documents meeting the bill's standard. They also word this so weirdly, meaning that this would effectively end mail-in registration because applicants have to present proof of citizenship in person before the deadline. So there goes your mail-in registration. That makes these like third-party registration drives dead because the groups can't collect registrations plus require documents for officials to inspect. But are there any of these third-party get-out-the-vote organizations that we know of that recently just got access to all the data from the Social Security Administration? Oh, Republicans. Now it makes sense what Elon was doing, right? When Doge went in and took over the Social Security Administration and took all that data and housed it on a private server, we know that they reached out and were working with right-wing voter registration, get-out-the-vote organizations. So now the right wing gets a massive leg up because they have access to this, illegally, by the way. And the Department of Justice sure as shit isn't going to investigate this because Pam Bondi does what Trump says. They are attempting to steal the election. There is no question. There is no doubt about that. This is what they are trying to do. And I urge any of you, if you live in a state where a Democrat in your state starts saying maybe we should pass the SAVE Act, call them. And if you have a moderate Republican, call them. They are attempting to steal the election because Donald Trump is deeply fucking unpopular. Deeply. He is underwater in every poll on every fucking issue. And they're lying to you about what this bill is. Online registration systems in dozens of states would be affected here because the act doesn't allow electronic submission of documents. Why, in this day and age, would the act get rid of electronic submission of documents? Why would you want to force people to do that in person? Because you want to suppress the vote. That's why. Polls are not trash. Like this is another thing you guys have been told. Polls are trash. Which ones? Which polls are trash? Trump won in 2016. If you look at the weeks before, like the 2 weeks before that election, it was neck and neck. Hillary Clinton was projected to win, but inside the margin of error. Well inside the margin of error. In fact, there were plenty of credible pollsters who said Trump was going to win the 2016 election. In 2020, the polls had Biden winning, and he did. And in 2024, the polls had Trump winning, and he did. So which elections or which of these polls are so wrong? They've been wrong every time. All right. I think this is Chris Murphy. I want to show this clip. And I applaud Chris Murphy. Yeah, this is him. For this type of video, because what a lot of us are afraid to do sometimes, myself included, and I'll speak for myself, is I have not wanted to talk about Trump trying to steal elections. I haven't wanted to accuse people of stealing elections because I don't want to be looped in with the QAnon dipshits who believed everything Donald Trump said when he told you that the election was stolen in 2020, which it obviously wasn't. William said, "Do you know what it's like to have sex with a Disney character?" It's fucking goofy. Brother Bob said, "Thanks again for the thanks again, Ray J." Oh, I like that. I'm right. No, I don't like that. That's Kim Kardashian's boyfriend. I take it back. Thanks, Brother Bob. Here's Chris Murphy to explain how they're planning on stealing the election.
2026 election, so he's putting in place a plan to steal it. That's not hyperbole. That's not conspiracy. He is literally doing it and telling you he's going to do it every single day.
The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
Let me put the pieces together for you. Just the pieces that have been put down on the table over the course of the past week and a half. The president sends a letter to state officials in Minnesota. He says, I'll be glad to take ICE officials out, but you got to give me control of your voter rolls. This is a key swing state. It's going to have an important gubernatorial election and an even more important Senate election. And Trump is saying, if you give me control of your voter lists, then I'll take the ICE agents out. We have the FBI raid.
Maggie that's here, explain that. If it's so important to do the one thing that like Trump was doing well on in the polls was removing undocumented immigrants from this country. If that's what's so important, why would he give that up for voter rolls? Any thoughts there? Quid pro quo, yeah.
Of the voting office in Georgia. They take all these ballots to a place that we still don't know about, and we know exactly what's going to happen here. They're going to take these ballots, they're going to claim that they counted them again, and in fact Donald Trump won Georgia, and that's going to be used by the president to do what he then told all of us he was going to do on a podcast just a day or two ago.
Really good point, Fender Funk said. If you're going to nationalize voting, it has to be for every single state and area. You can't just take over a select group of areas. Bingo. There's 50 states. Why is he saying 15?
Elections in key states. He wants the federal government, meaning Donald Trump's MAGA loyalists, to run elections in places like Georgia and Minnesota and probably Pennsylvania and Texas and Maine, anywhere where there's a race that might determine control of the House or the Senate. Over and over and over again, we see in front of our eyes what is happening. Donald Trump is taking the steps to create a pretext to take over state elections. That's what Georgia is about. He's using the power of the federal government to try to compel states to give him control of the elections. That's what Minnesota is about. And he's telegraphing openly what his desire is. That's what he said on the podcast.
Let's talk about the elections that have been audited. And J6, again, I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you take this into account. But let's talk about in 2020, the one state that had total transparency via audits. That was Arizona. Total transparency. They did 5 different audits. What was the conclusion after those audits? That Joe Biden not only won, but he won by more than we originally thought, by like 100-something votes. I'm not even worried at this point. I'm frustrated by your ability to ignore reality and instead believe what you want to believe. There is zero evidence that the 2020 election was stolen. It's been adjudicated. It's been audited. And they just keep lying to you. They just keep saying, don't worry, this time we're going to prove it. It's going to prove it this time. This time when we do an audit, it's going to prove it. I dealt with 5 of those in Arizona. Never proved a thing.
I want to nationalize elections. He's doing this because he knows in a fair and free election, he will lose. Republicans will lose. He's the most unpopular president, I think, ever. 1 year into a term. The polling today suggests that they're going to get wiped out in the House, so they might lose the Senate as well. He's got a deeply unpopular agenda. And so the only way that he can win, the only way the Republicans can win, is to steal the election. And the only way they can steal the election is for MAGA loyalists to insert themselves into state elections and take over so that they can either erase a whole bunch of Democrats off the voter rolls, or they can provide false counts, all the things that totalitarians do to rig elections. Keep your eyes wide open, because...
Keep them open. Ian said there's plenty of evidence covered up by the corrupt government. If there's evidence that was covered up by the government, how the fuck do you know about it, Ian? You don't. You've been told that there's evidence that's covered up. This is what I'm talking about. You are choosing what to believe. You are not believing the evidence. How come all your fucking evidence is behind closed doors that nobody can see? Pre, throw the glasses on too. They're so, I would throw on the glasses, but they have such a reflection, it bothers me.
If we don't see clearly what is happening, an attempt to take over elections, to steal and rig elections, then we have no way to stop it.
It's on. Nobody should, we shouldn't pretend he's not trying to do it. He's trying to do it. It's been the plan all along. I've talked the last 3 days about the influence of Steve Bannon. And I'll reference Felice because she's the one that taught me this. But don't overlook Steve Bannon because he looks like he has been living in a cave for the last 3 years. Steve Bannon is smart and he's influential. And he's all over the Epstein files. He knew everything Epstein was doing. He was giving Epstein advice. He was acting as a conduit between the Trump administration and Jeffrey Epstein. And not one of you have changed your mind about Steve Bannon. This is a man who has said, I want to undo democracy. Like, I want the whole fucking world to come crashing down so that we can rebuild a world government. It's not about Trump. It's not about fair elections for him. It's about chaos. He's behind Brexit in the UK. How'd that go for the UK? Again, Steve Bannon is not dumb. He wanted the UK to be divided, and so they voted to leave the European Union, and it crushed them. It was an absolute disaster. But he convinced all these people in the UK that they had problems, they had debt, they had inflation, they had all the same problems that we have here in America. And what he convinced them is that they wouldn't have had those problems if they weren't part of the European Union. It was this big government, this I guess like collaborative government with other countries. That's what actually ruined everything for them. And so they backed out of the EU. They lost trade deals. They lost access to products. It killed their economy. It devalued their currency. And now virtually everybody that was part of Brexit has been forced to admit, yeah, we fucked up. Brexit was a mistake. And Steve Bannon did that, and he did it knowing what it would do. He just wanted to see the chaos. Steve Bannon's behind Erdogan. All the shit that you see now in the UK about like roaming gangs of immigrants. That's Steve Bannon. That's his people. That's Cambridge Analytica. They work directly with Russia. This man works directly with our enemies, worked directly with Jeffrey Epstein, knew of all of his crimes, and yet now he's out here with the War Room podcast as one of the most influential people in MAGA. None of you care. And he's saying exactly what Chris Murphy just said.
You're damn right. We're going to have ICE surround the polls come November. We're not going to sit here and allow you to steal the country again. And you can whine and cry and throw your toys out of the pram all you want, but we will never again allow an election to be stolen.
Yeah, we're going to use ICE. How many more videos do we have to watch of ICE illegally detaining people, kidnapping people, taking them away, U.S. citizens, for crimes that they never committed? What's to stop ICE from doing that while people are trying to vote? How are they going to be stopped? They don't have that role. They haven't been given that permission by the government. Congress didn't give them that permission when they created ICE. I don't know if they're going to do it or not. But I can tell you that the loudest voices, the ones that are influential to Trump, and Trump loves any voice that tells him he actually won and that he's never lost anything. They're telling him, what do you mean I'm talking a bunch of BS? I'm showing you fucking Republicans, dude. Like, this is what they're saying. This guy's full of shit for repeating exactly what they're saying. Open your fucking eyes. You don't have to be a dipshit. You don't have to be fucking stupid. You don't have to be in a fucking cult. You don't have to be so stupid to believe that, we have a problem in this country. Our problem is voter ID. That's actually the problem. Where's your evidence of that? We don't have evidence. It's the government buried the evidence. We just believe it. All right. Let's take somebody slightly more honest in Mike Johnson. We played a full clip of Mike Johnson yesterday. They asked Mike Johnson 5 different times if he had any evidence at all that the 2020 election was either invalid or that it was stolen, and he said no. The evidence that he presented instead was Donald Trump believes that it was taken from him. That's the only evidence that he's given. Now what today? How about today? You have evidence today, Mike?
The president says that he wants Republicans to nationalize elections. Do you agree with him? And do you have confidence in how elections are conducted right now, heading into the midterm?
We have thoughtful debate about our election system every election cycle and sometimes in between. We know it's in our system. The states have been in charge of administering their elections. What you're hearing from the president is his frustration about the lack of some of the blue states, frankly, of enforcing these things and making sure that they are free and fair elections. We need constant improvement on that front. I don't know what the ultimate solution is going to be. I'm not going to get ahead of the negotiations here, but I think that is something that's going to be a continuing theme here. It's something that we'll continue to push, and we hope the governors will insist upon that same thing as well. In some of the states, like in California, for example, I mean, they hold the elections open for weeks after Election Day. That's just one thing that bothers so many people. We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on Election Day.
Good question, J6. What choice do we honestly have? Well, your first choice could be to use your voice to stop bootlicking. That's what I'd advocate. Stop believing what they say. Try and validate what they say. Can I prove anything that they're saying? And if not, just demand that the people that represent your views, and it's not me, you and I have different political views, but demand that the people who represent your views tell the truth and stop just repeating whatever Donald Trump tells them to repeat.
In the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost. In no series of ballots that were counted after Election Day were our candidates ahead on any of those counts. It looks on its face to be fraudulent. Can I prove that? No.
No. Why does that look on its face to be fraudulent, that Republicans lost in California? There were no real big surprises in California. In fact, the surprise in California was that those Republicans had a lead with in-person voting. Some of the places didn't. I think the one in, I don't remember, out by Sacramento, one of them, he was projected to win by even more. But we know that Republicans early on in in-person voting in these swing counties always have a lead, always, because more Republicans vote in person. And so what they've done now is they've said, because we have this lead early on, and we know that Republicans generally vote in person, Democrats don't vote in person as much. They generally prefer to do mail-in ballots, because who the fuck wants to stand in line for 3 hours? Honestly, I value my time. I don't want to stand in line for 3 hours to vote. They know that, and they've taken something that's just statistically true, that has been statistically true as long as I've been working in politics. I watched this in 2012 when I was working on the Romney campaign. We all knew early on, and we were sitting around watching these results come in on my buddy's phone, and he's like, all right, well, we should be up here, but we're starting to look at Iowa and Ohio, and we're like, uh-oh, Romney should have a bigger lead right now. This isn't good. There's not enough people here. We knew that votes were going to come in later for Democrats because they do mail-in voting. And so we were sitting there watching a lot of these states, and we knew exactly the voting patterns. The people that run elections know what the fuck they're looking at. And so what Republicans now have done because of Donald Trump is just to say, we're taking something that's not an anomaly. It literally happens in every single election. And now we're pretending that it is an anomaly and telling people that that is suspicious. And like Mike Johnson said there, we don't have any evidence that anything illegal happened. Can I prove that, he said? No. I just believe it. So we're going to rewrite the laws because I've decided that I believe something. David Thompson, why are mail-in ballots not secure? What's your evidence for that? Dumb comment, Abe. My time is not more valuable than casting my vote. My time is valuable, so I'm going to work smarter, not harder, and I'm going to vote in the way that takes me the least amount of time. That's a crazy thing to say. It's like, I'm going to go fishing. There's a lake with 8 million fish in it, and there's a lake with 1 fish in it. And I'm like, I'm going to go to the lake with 8 million fish. And you're like, oh, what? So you don't like fishing? Huh? I don't even vote by mail usually. Like, I get my ballot here in Arizona, I fill it out, and I go drop it in a drop box on my way to anywhere. No lines, don't have to worry about that. There's a lot of people like on the ballot. When I vote, I have my ballot out. People are advocating for, and where I live, there's a lot of different, positions where there'll be like 6 people that I can vote for 6 different people out of 12, and 11 of the 12 are Republican. So I've got to figure out a way to pick the 6 Republicans that most closely align with what I want. I can't do that at the polling, at in-person voting. I can't do that at the polls. That would take forever. So I would argue that like I actually use my time in a way that's more valuable, but I also make more educated decisions when I vote. It allows me to do that by voting at home. It allows me to talk to anybody in my house that's also voting. We can talk through those things together. Does that make sense? Yeah, and what about our service members come home? How about Trump votes by mail every year? How about that? All right, moving on. Just a reminder, we are crowd-funded here. I haven't updated the gift goal, but we do rely on your generosity to keep this show going every single day. The ways that you can donate are the Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. We prefer those over the Super Chats just because we get to keep a larger percentage of that, but you're welcome to send Super Chats as well. If you could help us knock out that goal, that would be greatly appreciated. This coming Monday, we've got 2 more episodes of Hitler and the Nazis. That's for paid members only. And I'm going to be launching another series for paid members only, where what we're actually going to do is we're going to watch entire congressional hearings, and that will be on YouTube and on Twitch, and it will be members only. So it'll be a members only chat, and we'll do those in the evenings sometimes. Those will be more sporadic, not on necessarily a set night, but if that's something that interests you, make sure that you're a paid member either on YouTube, Twitch, or TikTok, I guess. Yeah, we can do it. Jen, we can do that on TikTok, right? Can we make it members only to view or only members only chat? Abe.
We can do members only lives, yeah.
Abe, let me engage with you. You said no concerns about mail-in ballots at all, not what history has proved. Could you just point to me? Like, I'll do this. We'll do it right now. We'll play this game for you, Abe. What do you want me to look up? What is the evidence that history has proven? I'll start with, we'll go over to my AI of choice, which is Perplexity, which pulls from like 18 other AIs. Is there any evidence that mail-in voting isn't secure? And Abe, I'll look for your comments here. But let's just play the game with you. And if you think I'm looking this up incorrectly, if you'd like me to ask the question a different way, I'm happy to ask the question a different way to get the answer. They're telling me Based on there's no credible evidence of widespread or systemic insecurity in mail-in voting in the United States, but there is evidence of very rare, isolated instances of fraud or problems that critics point to as risks. Multiple large-scale studies and databases of election fraud cases find that mail ballot fraud is extremely rare, typically on the order of a few cases per several million mail ballots cast. Recent Brookings analysis of 2016 to 2022 general elections estimated an average mail ballot fraud rate of about 0.0000043, or roughly 4 fraudulent mail ballots per 10 million votes. Independent bipartisan groups like the Brennan Center, which I cited earlier, Bipartisan Policy Center, MIT Election Lab, consistently conclude that mail voting does not meaningfully increase overall fraud risk and that existing safeguards largely prevent large-scale manipulation. Yes, Abe, you asked a simple question. Your question was, what about the mail fraud that has been proven? What mail fraud are you talking about? No, not other countries, Abe. We have our own system. Another country could not have the same safeguards that we have here. Yo, you're reading. Okay, give me another source then. Sleazy Mac. These are not democratic investigations. Give me a different source. Why are you so fucking sure, but none of you can give me a source? It's the same dumb shit every day. JSEX, fraud, boom. But JSEX, let's see. Is there any evidence in in-person voting? Yes, there is evidence of individual cases of fraud in in-person voting, but no credible evidence that in-person fraud is widespread or has changed any major election outcome in the recent U.S. history. That's the same answer, isn't it? Fraud, boom. Just give me a source. This is what we deal with MAGA. You don't know how to identify anything. All you know how to do is attack sources, but give me a source that says you're right. Your source seems to be Donald Trump said so. Documented cases include people impersonating other voters, voting while ineligible, or voting multiple times, once by mail and once in person. A New York City investigation in 2013 found that investigators posing as ineligible voters were able to cast ballots at polling places in many cases, showing that voter impersonation fraud is still possible, but still rare. This sounds like the exact same thing. Yes. Yes, there are ways that people are able to vote fraudulently. It's rare. It's almost always caught. I don't believe in-person voting has fraud like that. See? I just don't believe things. I've just decided that I don't believe. I have no evidence to back up my claims. It's just what I believe. Gee, I wonder why the fuck you believe that. I wonder if perhaps that just aligns with what your party is telling you. Abe. Try again, Abe. No sources from Abe today. Anybody here that's not a dipshit fucking MAGA who doesn't need evidence, if anybody here is thinking, are they telling me the truth? Pay attention to those that are responding to me. Pay attention to their inability to cite a source for their claims. And pay attention to how when we go through the sources, all they can say now is, let's ask another question. Let's ask another question. Ballot harvesting can be a problem. In fact, it's been in Arizona when they did the audits in Arizona. You know what they found? 3 different cases of Arizona Republicans fraudulently doing ballot harvesting, and 1 Democrat. And guess what? None of those votes counted. They caught them. A handful of votes. It was less than 20 votes total. And yeah, exactly. You can go to jail for that. I'm just wanted to do this because I wanted to stop the show and show. No matter who we bring, I could bring on any Republican guest in the world, and they do not have a source for their claims of election fraud. Not one of them do. All right. So then I guess the follow-up question is then to you Republicans, why do you think your leaders are lying? Why do you think they're saying this? If they're not trying to steal the election, what other reason? Spicy Fresno Chili said we need ranked choice voting nationwide. Absolutely. And that's just like a two-party thing, right? Like that should be bipartisan. We should demand ranked choice voting, and we should demand that the parties be broken up, honestly. There's no reason why we should have just two parties. Calling people names doesn't mean I've lost, because I've already won the argument. So if I win the argument and you don't have any sources and I have sources and I call you a dumb fuck, not only have I won the argument, but also I'm being an asshole. It can be both. Here's what we had this morning from Tom Homan. Remember earlier I was like, maybe they're going to scale down ICE operations to focus on voting. Perhaps that's what's going on.
Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately, we will draw down 700 people effective today. 700 law enforcement personnel.
Last week he said we were going ahead with this, that we weren't going to ramp it down. Now we're ramping it down. Weird. How'd that happen? Lee said, I'm a 72-year-old white woman. I was one of the first year of 18-year-olds to register to vote. I've been married twice. The SAVE Act would make me have to provide legal documents on how I got from my birth name to my current name. It's very cumbersome and ridiculous. Agreed. Now, if you're a man, let's just say in this case, Lee's spouse doesn't have to do any of that. So it's additionally cumbersome on women. And our laws are not supposed to be are not supposed to be more cumbersome on certain groups of people than others. We're supposed to be protected against that. So it specifically alienates women voters, which Republicans do poorly with. It specifically targets poor Hispanic and Black communities where Republicans struggle. How come all the stuff that they're targeting just happens to be the groups of people that they struggle with? Is there peanut butter on the top of his mouth? Maybe. All right. Maybe they're pulling out because they want to ramp up for the election. It could also be because of shit like this. Second Amendment fans, let's talk about this.
Hey, I need you to back up. You need to back up. Stay safe.
This is a car being pulled over in Minnesota yesterday morning.
Handguns at the drivers in the vehicle right now. Get out. Hey, get back. You guys need to stay back. You can record, but you gotta be back. Get out. Hey, open your fucking door. I need you to back up a little bit more.
Dritch says this is fucking bullshit. This is, wow, that was interesting. Not what I voted for. Appreciate you saying that, Dritch. Sorry I missed that, and then it disappeared.
Hey, get back. Hey, get the fuck back. Back.
Holding these people at gunpoint. Now, what do? What could possibly lead ICE agents to pull people out of their car at gunpoint? They'll tell you in a minute.
Hey, no, don't get on the road. Stay back over here. Okay. You guys can take pictures, just need to stay back.
Yeah, gunpoint. Where are we at? We're at how many seconds into this video? I'll just go under the H. See how these agents here, this man has a gun drawn. Here. I can't tell over here.
Hey, get back.
Excuse me, that guy may not have had his gun drawn.
Hey, get the fuck back. Back.
Pointing a gun directly at this person.
Hey, no, don't get on the road.
We have zero context. J-Sex, don't worry. They will provide the context in a second.
Stay back over here. Okay. You guys can take pictures, just need to stay back.
Want to point out, JSEX has already decided he doesn't believe that this is bad. Want to just a view into the MAGA mind here. We're halfway through the video. He's already decided there must be no context. He's already decided this is a good stop. That is what goes through a MAGA mind. I am defending this before I know the details. And by the way, we probably wouldn't have context for this if this ICE agent wasn't dumb and decided to tell us what the context was for this stop.
I see your press. You're good.
Checking for ID. That's fine. I see you. I recognize you. Put your creds down. You're fine. If you got creds, pull them out. I got you.
Thank you.
Legitimate, please.
We're for AB.
Okay. A lot of fake ones out there. So you know, these guys were all threatening us yesterday with handguns.
Okay. What he just said. They were all threatening us yesterday with handguns. That would be a good reason. Why didn't you stop? Couple questions. Why didn't you stop them yesterday? If they threatened you with handguns yesterday, why didn't you stop them? Because you're not saying they threatened you with handguns today. So why did you wait a whole day to pick them up? And secondly, did they actually threaten you with handguns? A lot of people are like, oh, we'll never know because ICE doesn't wear body cam. We don't know. We just have to trust ICE on this until.
Did people were threatening you with handguns? Yeah.
Handguns, like threatening.
We know.
Hand guns. He's making the signal. You might think I'm taking a leap here. He's going to confirm it.
So.
Oh, you mean like with hand symbols?
Pulling them out, trying to engage us.
Pulling out literal guns?
No.
No. A day later, these people are being pulled out of their car at gunpoint. And we're supposed to believe that the reason they did it a day later was that they were making gun motions with their hands. So today they get to arrest them. Guess what? None of them had guns. None of them.
Assuming that we were going to do something. So.
Assuming that we were going to do something. What does that mean? You mean they were saying they thought you were going to shoot somebody? What do you mean by that? Assuming we were going to do something. Welcome to America. Where as a U.S. citizen, you can make this gesture, allegedly, and the next day can be arrested at gunpoint. Why didn't they stop him the day before? Where was I when Obama was doing this? He didn't do this, dipshit. Obama didn't throw masked people in the streets and arrest and detain U.S. citizens. Go look at Obama's deportations. The overwhelming majority of Obama's deportations took place within 100 miles of the border. And they were people who had come across illegally recently and they were deported. And might I also add that the direction of ICE, like Obama didn't treat ICE the same way Trump does. Congress was passing rules for ICE. Obama didn't really have a lot of choice. He had to follow the laws because Obama, like most presidents, followed the law. They weren't like Trump where he's like, fuck the law. I do whatever I want. But this didn't happen under Obama. This didn't happen under Trump. It didn't happen under Biden. It only happened under this Trump administration. Go ahead. Find me a fucking video. Find me videos of masked ICE agents during the Obama administration flooding the streets, taking American citizens at gunpoint. Find it. I'll wait.
That's why they're being ID'd right now.
So now they're being ID'd. There's the answer. Someone made a gesture. We didn't do shit about it yesterday. Today we decided we need to pull these people over at gunpoint to ID them. There's no credible threat of violence. Pulled over American citizens at gunpoint simply to ID them. Pretty cool. Pretty cool administration you've got here. All right. I want to get back on this. I talked yesterday or the day before, we spoke of the whistleblower that sent a whistleblower report to Tulsi Gabbard. And the whistleblower report is basically like, here's the report. We're going to, obviously, Congress gets to hear this report because Congress has oversight over the Director of National Intelligence. And then we found out that she has never transferred that to Congress. And it's been almost a year now, and it's sitting in a safe. And the whistleblower says that this whistleblower report could affect national security, and Congress needs to be aware of it. Meaning, a whistleblower report meaning simply that, like, they believe something's happening within DNI that is problematic and potentially could affect national security, and Tulsi Gabbard is just hiding it. Godzilla King said, "You're telling me that evil Tobey Maguire from Spider-Man 3 would have got arrested for finger gunning people?" Yes, what's the title of that video? I want to share it everywhere. Godzilla King, I got it off Twitter, but if you're in our Discord, I post all of my sources in Discord every day. Well, I don't. Our amazing mods do, which today is Kim. You can find those in Discord. If you need an invitation to Discord, in the chat, ask for a mod to send you instructions of how to do it. Got that. Jerry Mandarin said ICE hates getting baited with finger bangs. Hey Howdy said apparently ICE reads minds now too. Yeah, they're clairvoyant. Rebecca said, did you see that ICE leadership estimates 80% of agents would quit if they are required to unmask? I did not see that. You said it's from AP. Damien, thanks for joining the $2 train. Yeah, because they're fucking Nazis. That's why. They don't want to admit what they're doing. Natalie said, I worry there will be no accountability for pedophiles. Yeah, I agree with that. Why would there be? There's, like, the administration's full of them. Pedophilia is not a deal breaker for MAGA. It doesn't matter. They knew about Matt Gaetz. They knew Matt Gaetz had sex with an underage girl before they nominated him to be Attorney General. Before Trump nominated Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General, he knew that Matt Gaetz had drugged and had sex with a 17-year-old girl. No problem. All right. Here is the whistleblower aid. So this is now email to the Director of National Intelligence from the whistleblower's lawyer. Said on June 6, 2025, in response to the Intelligence Community Office of Inspector General's correspondence, a copy of which is included as an enclosure, our client requested your office's direction on how to contact the Congressional Intelligence Committees consistent with appropriate security practices. Again, if you are a whistleblower, the correct way to go about this is you file the report, and then the DNI is supposed to at least give you the steps necessary to get this to those required or those who have oversight over her, which is Congress here. As you're well aware, our client's disclosure directly impacts our national security and the American people. This means that our client's complete whistleblower disclosure must be transmitted to Congress, and that we, as their counsel, speak with members and cleared staff. Not public, behind closed doors. It's national security. There are members of Congress who have national security clearance specifically for these types of cases. Soon after being retained and by correspondence dated November 21st, 2025, we provided you with notice of our intent to contact the Congressional Intelligence Committees and restated our client's request for direction on doing so. Copy of this correspondence is included as an enclosure as well. Earlier this evening, we learned that your office has provided the Intelligence Community Inspector General with guidance on contacting the Congressional Intelligence Committees. To date, your office has provided us with zero guidance despite our earlier requests. Consistent with 50 U.S. Code 3033K5D21, we are providing you with formal notice that should your office fail to provide us with security guidance on contacting the Congressional Intelligence Committees by Friday, this Friday, February 6th, that on Monday, February 9th, I, as counsel, will contact the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence to provide them an unclassified briefing on Ms. Gabbard's conduct and the underlying intelligence concerns. Furthermore, as you know, I maintain top secret eligibility and have routinely been read into matters when representing national security and intelligence community whistleblowers. Accordingly, I asked to be read into this matter. And this is from Andrew Bakaj, Chief Legal Counsel here. Why they hot covering this shit up? Ever heard of Eric Snowden? I've heard of Ed Snowden. Obama forced him to flee to Russia. Yeah, they were wrong for that. Ed Snowden did something great for our country, but he also did break the law. I appreciate what Ed Snowden did. In this case, it's the director of national intelligence who is breaking the law, though. Ed Snowden didn't do it in this way. Ed Snowden didn't file a whistleblower report, send it up the chain, and then when they did nothing with it, hired an attorney to make sure that they had congressional oversight. Ed Snowden leaked. That's illegal. I still like what Ed Snowden did. I think it was brave what he did. But he did break the law. This is the opposite of Ed Snowden. This is Ed Snowden doing it the right way and the government refusing to get it to the people who are supposed to do oversight. Your whataboutisms are getting pathetic, all of you. And just to point out once again, why the fuck are you doing a whataboutism? Why don't you care about this? Why don't you just talk about this? Why do every time we show how corrupt this administration is, you tell the whole world, we don't fucking care what they do. We could give a flying fuck what they do. No matter what they do, we will try and compare it to something somebody else did to justify it. Why do you want to be so fucking blind and so fucking out of the loop? Why do you demand that? I demand that my government tell me nothing. And anybody who demands the government be transparent, I will argue with them. Weird. You guys we're all about uncovering the deep state. Not anymore. We don't know. No, we just let him do what he wants. All right. Moving on. In a congressional hearing, Jay Bhattacharya was before the Senate. Jay Bhattacharya is one of RFK's right-hand man. And we have a problem in this country when it comes to vaccines. And specifically, the problem that we have is that RFK Jr. and prominent Republicans keep fucking lying about them. They have put out notices that they believe that there's credible evidence that vaccines cause autism. They didn't provide that evidence. There is no study that they have cited that says that's true. And now they're rolling out a vaccine schedule that I'll admit, I'm actually okay with them rolling out a vaccine schedule. I've done research on this. The father of the vaccine schedule was a pediatrician. And he kept getting these parents coming in who were like, I saw this online, that vaccines are dangerous, that getting all these vaccines at once, that's dangerous and it's causing autism. What do we do? And so he created a schedule where they would spread out when they did the vaccines. And when he was asked about this with his research, they're like, okay, so this will make it safer? And he's like, no. There's actually no evidence that this is a problem. I just want parents to feel more comfortable. So I created a schedule where they would still vaccinate their children, even though they're getting like lambasted online about how vaccines are killing their children and causing autism. In Florida just announced that their goal now is to get rid of all vaccine mandates. Now, I don't love vaccine mandates. I don't like the government saying that you have to do these things. The concern is that we have a very free press and we have very free online discourse, and it is very easy to trick people into not vaccinating their children. And so, for somebody like me who has a vaccinated child who goes to school with other children in a very MAGA-heavy place, I would like my child to be at a school where there's a vaccine mandate because I want my child to be protected, and I want those other children to be protected. So I don't like mandates, but if we are going to get rid of mandates, then we have to start telling the truth. And having RFK as the head of HHS is a bad move because he's lying. And here's Dr. Jay Bhattacharya admitting that RFK is lying about vaccines causing autism. Bernie Sanders catches him. And I just want you guys that think this to pay attention, that once they testify in front of Congress, they tell a different story. When they make their fun little videos and their announcements, they'll say shit like, oh, yeah, it's totally causing autism. And then they go in front of Congress and they change their story. Here's Jay Bhattacharya.
To me is that we have to address the deep distrust that has developed over the last several years by the public of regard.
Real quick, Gorilla, I'm going to answer that question because fundamentally, I think a lot of people don't understand what vaccines do. Vaccines do not protect you necessarily from a disease. What vaccines do is they create herd immunity. So when you have a disease for like chickenpox, for example, the more people that get vaccinated or who are immune to it, the less the virus can bounce from person to person. There are, if you had, like, let's say 90% of our country was unvaccinated and 10% of our country was vaccinated, the 10% that were vaccinated would be safer, but they could still get most of these viruses. A vaccine isn't a shield. It's not bulletproof. It creates herd immunity, and what you want to do is kill the virus. And once the virus can't jump from host to host to host to host to host, it goes away. So that's why when you see like the immunization in this country and the eradication of disease, the eradication went up the more people were vaccinated. That's another lie that I don't know why we have this wing in our country who has decided to just fundamentally never understand anything about science or biology. But the more people are vaccinated, the less people get these diseases. And you can now look in Texas, I think it was it in North Carolina, in Florida, you're seeing these places who have been flooded with a bunch of nonsense, scaring them from vaccinating their children. We're now seeing some of these diseases come back. But that's how vaccines work. Same with COVID. You know why some of these other countries recovered from COVID faster than us? Because they got vaccinated quicker. And so the COVID virus struggled to go from host to host to host to host to host. And then it struggled to mutate because it had nothing to latch onto. We struggled in this country because we had a significant portion of our population who kept saying dumb shit like, I never got it. Why are you worried? You get it for you, I won't get it for me. We're all happy. Fine. I guess that's what freedom is, but it just shows that you fundamentally don't understand what these vaccines are meant to do and how they eradicate diseases. I'll go back now.
Distrust that has developed over the last several years by the public of regard.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't have a lot of time. You're right. There is deep mistrust. Do you think that deep mistrust now has something to do when you have an organization like the American Medical Association telling us that vaccines do not cause autism, but you have a secretary of HHS who says the very opposite? Do you think that causes concern and mistrust among parents?
You know, Senator, in 2024, there was a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association that said that only about 40% of patients still trust their doctors. As someone who went to medical school myself, it's absolutely shocking. And that's before Secretary Kennedy took office.
Yeah. Because of misinformation campaigns. The world looks at us and they laugh. They look at arrogant, pompous Americans who believe that their feelings in a Facebook post somehow is better evidence than studies, than actually like clinical studies. Placebo studies, decades of evidence, decades of data. That's why we still have people here who can say, you can see them in the chat, oh, mRNA, oh, conspiracy. Explain to me why countries with the highest vaccination rates recovered from COVID the quickest, and the countries with the lowest vaccination rates recovered the slowest. Explain that. You're too focused on the conspiracy shit. You're too focused on the dumb shit that you hear on the Rogan podcast and on Twitter and on Facebook. And that the arrogance of Americans has fucked us all. The idea, I spoke to a friend about this the other day who said, why would I trust Big Pharma? You shouldn't. You shouldn't trust Big Pharma. And you don't have to trust Big Pharma to get a COVID vaccine. Why Big Pharma is something we shouldn't trust is because they manipulated studies consistently to show that things were safe, and then we found out later on that those things weren't safe. specifically in America with the opioids. But other countries don't have this same problem because they don't have big pharma in the same way that we do. So I can respect that you might look at a study that was paid for in America by a pharmaceutical company and say, I don't trust that data. That's fair. Even if it's a double-blind placebo study, if you're looking at it and you're like, this was funded by Pfizer, I don't trust that. But there are studies all over the world that you can look at that aren't funded by big pharma, that are scientists and doctors who have dedicated their lives to eradicating disease, to making people more healthy. And those studies conclusively tell you over and over again that these vaccines save lives. But it's easy, it's the lazy way out to be like, oh, well, I don't trust big pharma. That's lazy. It's the same problem you have politically. I don't trust Democrats. I don't trust CNN. I don't trust MSNBC. Cool to say. Just fact check them. Maybe they're telling the truth sometimes. Maybe they're not. Stop just reading something and go, based on the author, I have decided I believe this or I don't believe this. Just fact check them. You don't have to trust anybody. But that's where we're at now in America. 40% of Americans do not trust their doctor. Based on what?
We have to address this mistrust, but it has to be a bipartisan effort.
Let me ask you a simple question. Tell the American people, I appreciate your thoughts on measles. Do vaccines cause autism? Tell that to the American people. Yes? No?
I do not believe that the measles vaccine causes autism.
No.
I love it. You are not credible. Yeah, I just told you, don't listen to me. Fact check me.
I didn't ask measles. Do vaccines cause autism?
I have not seen a study that suggests any single vaccine causes autism.
Okay, thank you.
Whoops. So why did he and his friends put out a statement that it does? Why does the President of the United States say that it does? What are they basing on that? What are they basing that on if not studies? Any answers there? Byron said, MAGA likes common sense. What does common sense say? It's easier to rig an election by manipulating a computer program on election day or getting a hold of mail ballots and physically filling them out. Also federalizing elections. What happened to states' rights? Yeah, great point. Like, mail-in voter fraud is so hard. Like, you would have to be so coordinated and you'd have to have access to so many mail-in ballots that were sent to other people's homes. It would be, I mean, somebody come up with a plan. I've never even seen, I should find this YouTube video, but I watched these people try and figure out how they would fraudulently do mail-in ballots and what type of effort it would take to actually change the outcome of an election using mail-in ballots. And it's impossible. It's completely impossible. The amount of people that you'd have to network together and be in on it, it's impossible. But if you could get a back door into the system and just change votes, that's pretty easy. Joy said, please watch and share the TikToks by Palmer trolls where people believe they are reporting neighbors and students' parents to ICE to have them deported. It's a MAGA mirror. I saw that this morning. It's Ben Palmer. Look up Ben Palmer. I saw that one. It's crazy. There's one I saw this morning of like a kindergarten teacher calling ICE to report her student, a kindergartner who was a citizen, but she went into the rolls at the school and somehow figured out that the parents were not born in America and then called ICE. She went out of her way to try and get her own student deported. Let me update this goal here. Just a reminder, guys, we are crowdfunded. I'm going to update this goal so Jen doesn't yell at me. Anything you can do to help us knock out this goal every single day would be greatly appreciated. That's how we keep the lights on over here. That's how we keep going. That's how we pay our bills. So appreciate that in advance. We got about 2 hours left, so plenty of time to knock that out. I got that from Godzilla. Okay, great. So vaccines don't cause autism. But when they're not in front of Congress, then they do. Any thoughts? Is Dr. Horrible? Oh, that's not for me. Okay, gotcha. All right, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip 13 and 14, Kim, and I'm going to go to this. This was
or
chaos. This is the House Rules Committee. They were holding a hearing on a couple of pieces of pending legislation, and they brought in James Comer to testify. And the reason I want to show this is, once again, Republicans are flying blind. They are writing legislation based on vibes and what they hope is true, and not the things that they can prove. And Jim McGovern proves that time and time again. And James Comer proves time and time again that he's nothing but a bootlicker. If Virginia Fox makes you look, or if Virginia Fox next to you is the sane person, you're probably not doing well. But I want to show this. It's a little bit long. We won't show all 20 minutes, but I wanted to show this with Jim McGovern and James Comer.
Your statements.
It's only coming out of one headphone for me, so if you don't hear it, maybe switch headphones.
I'm going to defer my questions. And Mr. Scott, I wonder if Mr. Scott has no questions. Mr. McGovern, you're recognized.
Well, so I have two sets of questions, Madam Chair, because we have two bills coming up here at once. So let me start with the D.C. bill. Chairman Comer, has your committee held a hearing or a markup on this measure?
We have not, because in order to rescind the D.C. Council motion, you're on a time frame 30 days.
This was introduced 11 days ago.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
I have a limited amount of time here. And has Congress ever vetoed a local D.C. tax law before?
Yes.
Okay, so what they're talking about right now is there are states. So when the big, beautiful bill went out, there's certain tax policies that went out there. One of them specifically with the child tax credits. The child tax credits were increased, but then the taxes on wealthy people obviously was decreased. And so states, when they get access to the one big beautiful bill, they obviously federally have to comply with the federal tax codes, but a lot of states then will make their own changes to make up for the money that's going to be lost. In this case, in D.C., who is not a state, D.C. has said, we are not going to, on a local level, we are not going to cut the taxes of the wealthy people. In fact, we're going to charge the wealthy people a bit more to pay for these tax credits for poor families, for child tax credits for poor families. And now, for whatever reason, the federal government has decided, for the first time that I can find any evidence of, they are intervening and writing new legislation telling D.C. that D.C. can't choose for themselves to tax rich people a little bit more to pay for subsidies for child tax credits. It's $600 million essentially that now they have set aside to help the poorest people in DC, which is a very there's a big disparity between the poor and the wealthy in DC. Like, there is the poorest of poor and the richest of rich in that area. And so they're just saying, yeah, we need to take care of the poor, so we're going to tax a little bit more, to the tune of $600 million that will benefit poor and working class families. And I don't know why Republicans are doing this. I have no idea why they have decided to intervene in Washington, D.C. and on a local level and say, you know what, now local municipalities cannot determine their own tax rates.
We did House Joint Resolution 42 last
Sorry,
time.
the question that they asked him was, have you guys ever intervened in D.C. like this? Let me go back.
Have not, because in order to rescind the D.C. Council motion, you're on a time frame 30 days.
This was introduced 11 days ago.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
I have a limited amount of time here. And has Congress ever vetoed a local D.C. tax law before?
Yes. We did House Joint Resolution 42 last Congress. Isn't that right?
Those are his aides. No, we didn't do that. Somebody asked, like, why is my solution, Baki Hama, why is my solution to take from people who are doing better than you? It's not. Why is your solution to give and give to people who are doing better than you? It's not about take and take. You guys gave rich people more money. And in order to give rich people more money, you stole money from poor people. You have decided that none of that money should go to poor people anymore, and instead we should give tax cuts to the richest among us. Let's just say, I have no problem with taxing rich people more to give to poor people. I think that is the ethical thing to do. Rich people write the laws in this country. They have rigged the entire game so that the richest people in this country don't do a fucking thing. They sit around with their thumbs up their asses and they collect money off of other people's labor. I don't know if you've read the Epstein files, Perhaps you haven't. But perhaps if these people were forced to work like you and I have to work and not just sit around and collect massive checks off of the backs of everybody else's labor, perhaps they wouldn't have time to run a cabal of sex trafficking children. Perhaps these billionaires would be able to connect with each other so easily and cover their tracks so easily. How do we see the Epstein files? We see the corruption. We see what money can do for you. We see how money elevates you over the law to the point where you can traffic children, and as long as the president is another rich guy like you, they're not going to do a goddamn thing about it. Perhaps we shouldn't keep giving people money for not doing a goddamn thing. But your solution, Republican solution, is always give more money to the rich, and then they tell you to go yell at us. Look at those fucking Dems. They're always trying to help poor people. Oh, the audacity. Audacity. Didn't Jesus say some shit like that? Didn't Jesus say to take your money, your excess, and give it to the poor? Didn't he say something about being rich makes it impossible to get into heaven? How about every movie fucking ever made? Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Every time. The rich guy's never the good guy. The billionaire's never the good guy. The billionaire's always shitting on poor people. Like what? In history, when have the ruling class been the good guys? You got to look past 4 inches in front of your fucking face. You are stealing from the poor to give to the rich. And when I say stealing, I mean stealing, because you write laws that allow the richest among us to own more labor than we own of ourselves. There are many instances where people go to work and work 40 hours a week, and the person who owns the company makes more off of their labor than they do. Heaven forbid we think that that's a dumb fucking way to run an economy. And that's why we have this problem. That's why we have massive wealth inequality. It's why we have massive debt. It's why before trickle-down economics, we didn't have this problem, and now we do have this problem. And you bootlicking cucks show up every day and like, we gotta protect the billionaires. We gotta protect them. They gotta keep all that money. How are they gonna keep their sex trafficking going if they don't have all this money? Jeff Bezos rented out a fucking city, closed down a whole city in France, Italy, I don't remember where it was, for his wedding. His wife's like, hey, could you fly me and some of my celebrity friends to outer space? Yeah, fuck it, go ahead, let's do it. All off of the backs of labor that he didn't perform. All because, oh, Jeff Bezos, well, he started Amazon. Yeah, no shit. But perhaps we should have laws that make sense. So you can keep bootlicking all you want. I'm going to keep advocating for the people in this country who get hosed time and time again. And every time Republicans step foot in office, our country dives deeper into debt and wealth inequality gets worse. You fuck it up every time. And if you could see more than 4 inches in front of your fucking face, if you could go out there and you could look at economics, if you could look at what happens when Republicans are in charge versus when Democrats are in charge, what you would realize is that every time Republicans get in office, they transfer all the wealth to the rich people and our national debt explodes and the poor get poorer and can afford less. Stop licking their assholes. Stop it. You cucky fucking bitches. Honest to God. Like, I don't know how you got to be this way, where you're on a YouTube stream like, why are you guys so against the billionaires? We just want an equitable system. Get money out of politics and see what happens. See what happens when suddenly these rich people can't write all the laws. I bet they would change, wouldn't they? I bet you guys wouldn't be out here tongue-punching the asshole of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk every day.
Mr. Walkinshaw?
Was it the...
I think that's incorrect. We have not.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's unprecedented. So since this measure has received zero public consideration by the U.S. Congress, and you want the House to vote on it this week, and Congress has never interfered with a local D.C. tax law before, let's at least spend a few minutes evaluating what it would do. Can you tell me the size of D.C.'s budget for fiscal year 2026? It's $22 billion.
Okay.
And how much of that is covered by the projected revenue raised from DC, from local DC taxes?
What We've worked very closely on the Oversight Committee with Mayor Bowser in trying to recruit
The answer is 13.
industry.
The answer is $13
Why doesn't he answer the question? He doesn't know.
billion.
And private investment.
And what is DC's capital budget for fiscal year 2026, which is used to invest in things like the metro, public schools, and public infrastructure?
I'll have to go through my notes. It may take a minute.
$2.6 billion. How have DC revenue projections over the next 4 years been impacted by the mass layoffs of federal employees by the Trump administration? Do you know, Mr.?
They've been negatively impacted.
Yeah, we're told, we're.
All I know, Mr.
Revenue
McGovern, is we've
estimates
worked with the mayor to try to get the federal employees back to work, something
Revenue
that she
estimates were
supported.
revised downward by $1 billion, $1 billion. So if we overturn DC's new tax law, do you know what the fiscal impact of that decision will be on DC's budget? I mean, according to DC.
They don't even know the impact of what they're advocating for. This is how pathetic Republicans have become. And this is how owned they are by rich people. You know why they're doing this? Because a bunch of their friends that live in DC that are filthy fucking rich said, hey, they raised our taxes and we give you money. Go fix this. And they're like, okay, we'll go fix it. They have no idea the impact. No idea what the impact of this legislation is. Why does Comer not know this? Because it's not about fiscal conservancy. It's not about fiscal responsibility. It's not about doing what's best for the country. It's because they were paid by donors to do this, and they thought, we own the house, so we can just do this shit. We can fuck over poor people, and it doesn't really hurt us, especially in DC. Is it fun? Is it fun being a little like follower? Is it fun being I think toady is the correct word here. Is it fun being a bootlicker? Is it fun always demonizing poor people? Does it make you feel big when you do that? I just don't understand the philosophy here. I don't understand the ideology here. If you want to go out and you want to work your fucking ass off and you want to make millions of dollars, God bless you. Go ahead and do it. But if you making hundreds of millions of dollars means that the people that work for you can't afford basic necessities, then you shouldn't be able to do that. You should not be able to become filthy fucking rich off of the backs of people who can't afford to live in the city where you employ them. You shouldn't have to be rich to have children. You shouldn't have to be rich to own a home. The American dream used to be that if you worked hard and you kept your nose clean, you buy a house, you could have children, you could have a one-income family, you could take vacations. I was listening to an interview with Bill Browder yesterday. I can't remember who sent that to me on Twitter, but thank you so much for sending that. And Bill Browder brought this up. Now, he's a capitalist. He's as capitalist as they come. But even he acknowledges, he's like, my dad was a teacher. My mom didn't work. My dad was a teacher. And every 5 or 6 years, we got a new car. We had a home that we could afford, we paid for. My dad was able to put away money for our college education. And every year, we took a vacation to Europe. Middle-class families can't take a vacation to Europe anymore. They can't afford it. They're barely scraping by. There is a finite amount of money, right? Unless we print more money. And if you live in a system where the money just goes straight up, the only way for the people at the bottom to get more money is to print more money, which is inflationary. So somehow you guys are somehow you are against raising taxes and against printing more money. But if we stop printing money, people will die. So your position is these rich people need to have all the money and poor people need to die. And thankfully, you guys never get that because states have rights and people are compassionate and have empathy. And so we wind up printing more money so that poor people simply can live. And then you get mad about it. Oh, the fucking libs, man. How dare they try and take care of poor people? You have to have a progressive tax system. It's the only thing that works anywhere in the world. There's nowhere in the world where you have a booming middle class that doesn't have a progressive tax system. It's what we had in this country when your parents and when your grandparents made their livings. And I bet your grandparents and your parents owned a home. And I bet your grandparents were a lot like my grandparents. State workers, school teachers, janitors, construction workers. My mom was a public school teacher. My dad was a small-time contractor. I lived in a very affluent neighborhood, but they didn't even make that much money. We could afford to live. We had 2 incomes. We could afford to live. We lived nicely. Give my dad's job now and my mom's job to somebody. There's no way they could afford a house where my parents live or anywhere close to where my parents live. Because what Utah did is Utah then said, we're going to give a bunch of tax breaks to these California companies, and we're going to move all these people from California into Utah, and then the housing spike skyrocketed. And now, like, unless you have, like, you're making $200,000 a year, you're not buying a house anywhere near where I grew up, which isn't like a metropolis. It's Utah County. It's just like a regular suburb. And if you don't make $200,000, you're not buying a house there. Not even like a piece of shit house. You got nothing. You're renting. That's what trickle-down economics has done to our country. It has made the rich richer, and it's made the poor more poor. And now a lot of these people get so much money, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to start buying investment properties. And then they get 12 investment properties, and they're making, now you've got passive income. And then when these cities get to a place where they're like, hey, we've got a housing crisis. We have people who can't afford to live here. These people that own 10 or 15 houses, they're like, well, I don't want to lose my investment property, and I'm making residual income. I was smart with my money. It's not my fault. Well, some of these people are 21, 22, 23 years old. They didn't have the same opportunity that you had. And you're just going to keep raising your rents on them. And so we're seeing ownership consolidated more and more and more and more. And almost everybody in this country, like an overwhelming majority of this country, their net worth is almost entirely the value of their home. That allows you, if you have a medical crisis or if you have a debt crisis, it allows you to take the equity in your home, access some of that money, and bail yourself out of tricky situations. But if you don't have equity in your home and you get into a bad situation, it's just game over for you. It's bankruptcy for you. We're not the richest country in the world in the way that like other countries live. You can go to Asa Sophia if you're here in Iceland. You can go to Iceland, Norway. These people pay 50% taxes, but then they have quality lives. They can pay for their home. They can pay for their food. They can go on vacation. They have paid time off. Because what they realize that we can't convince conservatives here is that no matter what, your money is going to go somewhere, right? If you want to pay for healthcare, you got to pay for healthcare. If you're paying for roads, you got to pay for roads through taxes. If you want to pay for schools, perhaps you're a public school or a private school, but all of that money is going out anyways. So why the fuck do you care if it goes out to the government or if it goes out to a private company? And if it goes out to the government and it could save you money, it wouldn't matter. A lot of us, if we paid 50% taxes, but we could still go on vacation, we could afford all of our bills, why would we care? If I'm paying 30% now and we can barely afford it or we can't afford it, why would I care if it goes to 50% but I have more money left over at the end? Again, it's just this 4 inches in front of your face is as far as conservatives can see.
Chief Financial Officer.
All right, let me read some comments here. Flanker said, truth is right is fed bad info. Truth is right is fed bad info daily. Yesterday I saw a live where they played only the back half of a video of protesters fighting back against a red hat attacker without showing the full vid. This is media on the right. Look, in all fairness, that's media in general. I find those videos on the left as well, but yeah. And that's why it's important to, like, no matter what you see, like if you see a video that confirms your bias, but it's not the full video, you should go look. You should go check and see, like, does that video just simply confirm my bias or am I showing the whole thing? Stephelson said when Sarah Palin was the dumbest, I miss when Sarah Palin was the dumbest person in politics. Juliet said the first thing checked on mail-in ballots is the signature on the outside of the ballot. You'd have to have signature cards and be very good at forgery to get past mail-in ballots. Sorry, I was late on that. Very true, though. Alfredo said billionaire tax breaks for pedo rings says it all. Got to keep those pedo rings afloat. Let's see if there's any here from Jen. Amber says 70 to 72% of those on welfare work full-time. We're subsidizing the billionaires not pay you. Conservative areas have higher government dependency. I will not blame the workers. I blame those who you work for. Bernadette said, help keeping the lights on. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, Bernadette. John, thanks for joining the Dollar Train and saying coitus in honor of Sheldon. I got that by Joy. All right. Back to James Comer. Just a reminder after my rant. James Comer was asked, does he know what this will do to the budget deficit? Does he know anything about the budget in D.C. where you're trying to undo their tax policy? James Comer doesn't know. James Comer said, he asked, is there precedent for this? Has Congress ever done this in D.C. before? He said, yeah, just last year. And then his aides are like, no. And he had to walk that back.
That would blow a $600 million hole in the budget. And, I raise these issues, and again, I agree. That if you really want to micromanage D.C., you should run for city council. Because clearly, I don't think you're coming here knowing the first thing about D.C.'s budget process and fiscal situation. And I think Republicans in Congress think they know better than D.C.'s elected officials about these very technical local tax and budget decisions. But blowing a huge hole in their budget, seriously? You guys can't even manage the federal budget, which is your actual job. You guys.
I agree with that. I do think right-wing media is worse. And I should probably clarify. I do think that happens. When I was thinking of that happens on all sides, I wasn't thinking of news organizations. I was thinking of just individuals, the people that you might see on a TikTok live. But I do agree with that. I do think, and that's definitive. If you go through there, you can go through any study in the world, and anybody who has done fact checking on all the major news networks, Fox News lies substantially more than any other news network.
Just voted for this big ugly bill which adds $4 trillion to the federal debt. And you're going to tell D.C. how to run their government? I want to ask unanimous consent to insert into the record, Madam Chair, a letter signed by the Mayor, Muriel Bowser, and Chairman of the Council of the District of Columbia, Phil Mendelson.
Without objection.
One quote here. The district is already a month into the 2026 tax year and has begun accepting and processing tax returns. Disapproval at this stage would create huge administrative challenges, require taxpayers to refile their taxes, render existing guidance and forms obsolete, and necessitate rapid.
Remember early on how Trump kept saying that we needed to take away D.C.'s rights and that it should just be swallowed up by the federal government? How could you convince people to let D.C. be swallowed up by the federal government? By saying they're fiscally irresponsible? Would that be a good way? By saying they don't manage their money well? That'd be a good way, right? How could you, for the average viewer, how could you rig that so that the average viewer is like, oh, D.C. doesn't manage their money well? Well, you could wait until after D.C. sets their budget. You could wait till after they've allocated money for something like child tax credits, and then you could step in as the federal government and reverse that and blow a $600 million hole in their deficit. And then at the end of the year, you get to go, look, this is typical lib shit. They can't manage their budget. There's $600 million in the hole. That's a conspiracy theory, but that's what I would do if I was a asshole Republican that wanted to take over D.C.
Rapid mid-year changes to tax administration systems.
Good point there. IMFRCD said federal tax bracket for $200,000 in 1954 was 91%. Of course, $200,000 in 1954 was probably the top 5% in this country. But yeah, T said I want to raise home prices, not lower. Oh yeah, Trump said he wants to raise home prices, not lower them. That's a great point, Amy Lynn. Oh no, Danielle. Shit, I'm used to that from Amy Lynn.
This is insane. This doesn't make any sense. So, Madam Chair, I really am frustrated that this is what we're going to spend our time doing this week. You know, a bill that's going to create more chaos in the district. It just doesn't make any sense. Now to the second bill that we're here to talk about. You know, President Trump referred to efforts to uncover the facts about the Epstein issue as I'm going to quote him, a hoax involving Democrats, not Republicans.
Thanks, Wendy.
And he instructed Attorney General Bondi to investigate Democrats, including President Clinton, and that's exactly what this is all about. My Republican friends, you know, say that they are interested in getting to the truth of the Epstein files. I'm on the Rules Committee. We moved 9 times to try to get an amendment considered on the House floor to release the files. And the way we actually had a vote on it was through a discharge petition because all of you blocked it.
That's not true. That's a
Okay. I want to be clear here. This is a snaky way that Republicans lie, and it's a snaky way that Republicans lie in the chat every day too. 9 times they tried to release the Epstein files. 9 times. And James Comer tabled it. Republicans in every committee tabled it because Donald Trump said that if you voted to release the Epstein files, he would consider that a direct attack. And so Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna were able to gather enough pressure to say, we're going to do a discharge petition, which removes all of these different committees' ability to table that motion and say, it's just a floor vote. We are releasing them, or we're going to force a discharge petition to have a floor vote. And then Republicans caved because once it was established that there was going to be a forced vote and your name would be there, Republicans were saying, I am unwilling to stand by now and put my name next to no, don't release the Epstein files. They had cover in all of these committees. Nobody really understood how the committees work. Most Americans don't. Nobody really knew who was tabling these, and then they could kick the can down the road. They'd be like, oh, well, look, we're tabling it in our committee because we're just one committee. We'll bring it to the floor if everybody else does too. And then the next committee, it was like, well, they're not doing it, so we're not going to do it. And they just hid behind that 9 times. 9 fucking times they hid behind that. And then finally, Massie and Ro Khanna forced them to put their name next to a vote, and then that's when we got the Epstein files. And then Republicans will go out there now and be like, what are you talking about? We released them. We released them. You released them. Trump signed it. What are you talking? We didn't try and bury it. Of course you tried to bury it. For months. For almost the entire year, you tried to bury it.
I subpoenaed Pam Bondi for the Epstein documents.
Yeah. It is true. You did block it. You did block it. 9 times in this committee, we voted to make an amendment in order, and it was blocked. In addition to the Clintons, 6 other people were also subpoenaed. Attorney General Barr, she came in to testify. The rest, including the Clintons, all sent in written declarations.
Ax said, always appreciate you and Jen, but a special thanks to Danielle for yesterday's contributions and walking a boomer through a couple of questions. Thanks, Zach.
This contempt resolution singles them out for partisan reasons. They are actively negotiating with the committee to provide testimony, most recently offering to sit for a transcribed interview, which I guess Chairman Comer has rejected.
Now the Clintons have accepted. As of a couple hours ago, Clintons have accepted to come forward for an interview.
This isn't really actually about getting at the facts. It's about playing politics. It's about creating a spectacle. We all know what's going on. Mr. Walkinshaw, isn't this just a political exercise to change the subject away from Trump's involvement in the Epstein files? By the way, the incomplete release of the Epstein files up to this point, Donald Trump has mentioned 5,391 times.
Crimson, let me just throw a bone to you. You said, just like Republicans shut down the government last year, more Dem lies covering their own asses. You probably weren't here yesterday, but I talked about government shutdown specifically and how every time there's a government shutdown, you have 2 parties who refuse to come together and agree on something. And so the government gets shut down and they both point the finger at each other. Nobody can be blamed for a government shutdown. It's both parties. The minority party, you can say, well, they should just have to do what the majority party wants. And the majority party shouldn't have to listen to the minority party. But the reality is, the reason we have government shutdown so often is we have a two-party system where they love pointing fingers at each other instead of doing stuff for the American people. So I actually agree with you that it's not like the Republicans, I don't think, can be completely to blame for the shutdown. Although I agreed with why Democrats wanted to shut down the government. That is all fixed by removing a two-party system. But no, that's silly. This, however, is not even remotely the same, because in this case, Democrats were voting to release the files and Republicans were saying no. So this isn't a lie. This isn't even partisan. Donald Trump is on the record threatening them. If you do this, we will view it as a hostile act. We will primary you. We will spend our significant resources against you and you will lose power. That's what happened. You can't refute that. You can't lie about that. You can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to us who watched it happen.
5,391 times.
Yeah.
And not one word about even asking the president to voluntarily come up and answer questions, but I'll yield to you.
I think it's really important to remind the American people about the timeline of President Trump's involvement here. We all know he ran for the presidency in 2024, saying he was going to release the files. Shortly after being sworn in, his attorney general.
There is a tally on all those votes, Crimson. So you can go in here, you can go to the House Rules Committee, you can go and you can look at their votes, and you can see, and you can actually watch these hearings live. And what would happen is Democrats would bring a motion to vote to release the Epstein files, and it would be a voice vote. And the Republicans, who have a majority in every committee because they're in power, and that's how it works. If you hold the House, you have a majority in every single committee. So in every single committee, Democrats would raise the issue and say, we want to vote to release the Epstein files. It would be a yay or nay vote. All of the Democrats would vote yay. All of the Republicans would vote nay. These are recorded. You can go on house.gov and you can see all these recorded votes. So learn how our fucking government works, which again seems to be a MAGA problem. You don't know how anything fucking works. And two, they're all recorded. Otherwise, we would have had the Epstein files earlier.
Claimed to have a binder with the client list, and she was going to release the files. At some point, very quickly, President Trump changed his tune. He started doing everything in his power to prevent the release of the files. We know, based on reporting, the Attorney General told him that he was mentioned in the files. We now know thousands of times he's mentioned in the file. So I think we
thousands of times because he released the files.
Half of them. He released half of them only when he was forced to after doing.
And late, and over a month late. He broke the law. Pam Bondi broke the law. We still don't have all the files. I honest to God, like, from the bottom of my heart, to any MAG out there, and I say this lovingly, fuck you. Fuck you for defending this, you cucked out bitches. Fuck James Comer, fuck Donald Trump, fuck Pam Bondi, fuck all these spineless shitbags that you guys have elected. And this is what happens when for 10 years, the only thing that fucking matters in electing a Republican is, will they publicly suck Donald Trump's dick? And if they won't publicly suck Donald Trump's dick, they don't get to be a Republican. You hired a bunch of spineless fucking cowards who are afraid of a geriatric sex criminal, and now you guys just fell in line. You're worse than them. Like, they are cucky little cocksuckers, and you guys are like, yay! Yay, I love it when you suck his dick. Do it more. Don't ever disagree with him. Yay! From the bottom of my heart, fuck you, you fucking cowards. Jesus fucking Christ. We finally have the deep state. We finally have the ability to take down the CIA, the FBI. We finally have the ability to remove the power structures that you and I have always known run this country, but we couldn't prove it. And we finally have it on a fucking silver platter. And you can't take Donald Trump's dick out of your mouth long enough to recognize what just happened and what you're enabling. You fucking bitches. It is crazy to watch this in real time in the chat, to watch you gargle the nuts of these pedophile protectors. It's embarrassing. It's sick. Fuck you. Enjoy your time in the cuck chair. But Jesus fucking Christ, don't you dare go anywhere and pretend that you have the moral high ground on anything. Don't you go anywhere and talk about thinking for yourself. You spineless fucking lemmings. We could change everything. Every country in the world is talking openly right now about, hey, did you just notice how in America they exposed a global cabal of rich pedophiles who are trafficking children and who are responsible for wars and for genocides and for corrupt elections? Did you notice that? And they're all like, yeah, we fucking noticed that. And every other country in the world is like, let's do something about that. Let's take some action. Let's do an investigation. And if somebody in our country is in these files, we're going to investigate them. Not in America. Oh, hell fucking no, not in America. In America, we are cucks to Donald goddamn Trump. And so in America, we've chosen to go, trust the process. Trust Donald Trump. You'll see. He actually had, it's not him, it's not any of his cabinet, it's none of them. His whole fucking cabinet's in the files. And you're just sitting there beating off going, yeah, own the libs, baby, own the libs. You have lost all moral authority across the entire world. Everybody thinks you're a fucking joke. And I get riled up about this because I don't like when other countries look at me and go, American? You're the pedophile protectors? And I'm like, no, not me. Not me. I voted for her. I didn't vote for this. That's not me. But you guys, oh yeah. This is so hot. I love this. Tell me what to do more, Trump. Tell me what to say. I'll go into any YouTube live and I'll just repeat catchphrases. I'll do it over and over and over again. I do not care how fucking silly or fucking stupid I look. I will repeat it for you, Daddy Trump.
Everything in his power to prevent it.
Is there an update on the Clintons?
I can share an update. The good news, Mr. Chairman, I think we'll be able to go through door number 1 that I outlined in my
4D chess. 4D chess actually turns out just being bending over and taking it. It turns out it wasn't 4D chess at all. It was just a glory hole room where you press your ass against the hole and you take it. Turns out you had the wrong game the whole time. It was just fuck me in the ass while I'm not watching. That turned out to be the game.
Opening statement, I understand that the Clintons have agreed to appear for depositions and have agreed to the terms that you laid out in your most recent letter.
Are you aware of that?
No.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case.
Somehow the media and the Democrats get the correspondence way before we do.
I can't fucking believe that the Clintons don't trust you. Huh. But also this is a lie. James Comer responds to something he didn't know about that, by the way, see this guy leaning forward? His aide? He knows about it. See this aide? He knows about it. The chair of the committee, a Republican, she knows about it too. The only person who doesn't seem to know this is James Comer. So he naturally goes, well, that's just typical. The Dems know. The Dems and the media know before everybody. Not just before you, dude. Because all you do is take marching orders from Trump. You're a pawn. How do your aides know? How does everybody in the room know but you?
Understanding is that their attorneys reached out to you.
Your staff has it, Mr. Chairman.
You better check with your staff. But if that's the case, why are we doing this then?
If the staff has it, they just got it because we've been in there waiting for you all to stop talking on the last bill so we could present this bill. And look, you said transcribed. They rejected a transcribed. He wanted a transcribed interview. The difference in a transcribed interview and deposition, you don't have to answer the questions in a transcribed interview.
Right,
real quick, Katrina said, I listen to you every day. Thanks for all the work you and Jen do. Here's a great video that shows in simple terms wealth inequality. The title of the video is, for you guys that want to look it up, Wealth Inequality in America. Thank you. I'll check that out after.
Agreed to the terms in your letter.
I would suggest that you consult with your staff. Maybe Mr. Walkinshaw can maybe make sure that you're.
Yeah, we'll make sure you
I love when you use every variation of the F word in a single sentence. My bad. And get a little riled up. My bad on that. I probably won't be proud of that 10 years from now. John said you don't need to read. Oh, never mind. Tim, thanks for joining the Dollar Train.
Your staff has been notified of this.
If they've been notified, it's been in the last 15 minutes.
Mr. McGovern, Mr. McGovern, It just has come out in the last, I just received a note.
In the last 2 minutes.
The last,
Right, well, then,
yeah.
can we save it?
Well, it looks like everybody has good staffers except for James Comer.
Save all.
No. Just because we're going to have to review this and look at this. And look, this sets a bad precedent. So every time we issue a subpoena, and what Mr. Walkinshaw does not say is the Democrats made the motion for all these subpoenas. This was a Democrat motion. And
oh, you don't say. Oh, you don't say. You don't say that it was the Democrats who made the motion to subpoena Bill Clinton. Huh. Almost like they're not protecting Bill Clinton. Whoops. Did James Comer just accidentally fuck up? Because they've been telling you, and you guys have been saying in the chat, you guys don't care about Bill Clinton. Well, the people we voted for they made the motion to subpoena Bill Clinton. Whoops.
majority of the Democrats on the committee voted for this
we want to hear from everyone.
So you're trying to say it's partisan, and it's not partisan.
Reclaim my time, Madam Chair.
It's bipartisan.
So, in other words, you're getting everything you want, but you still want to go ahead with the show.
You're talking about something nobody's even read yet, Mr. McGovern.
All right, let me add. So in the recent DOJ release of the Epstein files, there appears to be far more information of prominent people in Epstein's circle, including Donald Trump, Melania Trump, Elon Musk, and Howard Lutnick. Chairman Comer, do you know...
To be clear, cussing doesn't make me feel tough. It makes me feel better. I feel I got something off my chest. It makes me feel a little bit better. And because I am a liberal and not a bitch, words aren't that big of a deal. Cussing makes you feel tough. Stop being afraid of words, you cucky little bitches. Those words hurt my heart. I can't listen to somebody who says fuck. Well, toughen up. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't know you guys were all such snowflake little bitches. When Donald Trump cusses, it's no problem, right? Just when I do it. But yeah, it just makes me feel better.
Know if top Trump advisor Elon Musk ever went to Epstein's rape island?
I haven't seen any evidence that he had.
Do you know?
But can I just tell you, I also fucking hate this. Too much focus on the island. Way too much focus on the island. And I don't know how everybody has missed this on the Democratic side, and it pisses me off. Almost everything Jeffrey Epstein was accused of, everything he was convicted of, everything Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of happened in the United States, either in New York, in Palm Beach, or New Mexico. It is a little like this is dumb, because what you're doing is when you say, did they go to the island? Then if they say no, you're exonerating them. You should not be exonerating them if they didn't go to the island. Everything they were convicted of didn't happen there. What you should be, when people are going to his house in Manhattan, when they are going to his house in Palm Beach, when they're going to his palace in New Mexico, that's where he was caught. Those are the places where we have charges. Democrats need to figure this the fuck out. They got to stop focusing on the island. The island and it being like the epicenter of this, I'm not even sure if that's true. In fact, I've never seen any evidence that says that is true, that was the epicenter. You can look at Howard Lutnick's visit there with his family and go, well, do we really think Howard Lutnick, and look, I think Howard Lutnick's as big a piece of shit as he possibly could be, but I just don't have it in me to believe that Howard Lutnick took his own children to Epstein's island to be abused. I don't have it in me to believe that. It's hard for me to imagine any parent doing that, and there were people who took their kids to that island. I just don't think that people are focusing on the right thing when they boil everything down to the island. We know how much abuse happened in Manhattan. Lutnick was there, Elon was there, Peter Thiel was there, Bill Gates was there, Prince Andrew was there, Trump was there, and abuse happened there. We know that for a fact. So I wish they would stop doing the island thing.
Look, if anybody that's been to the island, especially if they went to the island after he's convicted, we're interested in talking to them.
Do you know if Trump advisors...
That's a good point. Epstein Island isn't a place. It's the friends he made along the way. Yeah. Amy Lynn, breaking SCOTUS denied California GOP to get rid of new vote maps. I guess democracy won. Oh, the radical leftist judges, all nominated by Republicans. Yeah.
Steve Bannon ever went to Epstein's rape
I
island?
don't keep up with Steve Bannon.
All right, do you know if Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, ever went to Epstein's rape island?
He has said he
What
went.
do you mean notice I didn't? If you're talking to me, what do you mean notice I didn't mention Dems? I did. I just. Or are you talking about him? The reason, by the way, the reason that McGovern is pointing at Republicans right now and only naming Republicans is because, like was shown here earlier, Democrats are the ones who pushed for the subpoena for Bill Clinton. Democrats have pushed for subpoenas on everybody, and the Republicans are only willing to subpoena Democrats. They are not willing to subpoena Republicans. So that's why McGovern's doing this. He's saying, look, we're cool with whatever. You bring in anybody. But how come you're only going after Democrats? Why aren't you also going after Republicans? Because Democrats are on board. They didn't try and stop the subpoena against Clinton. They made the motion to subpoena Bill Clinton. We're not even playing party politics anymore. Donald Trump wants it covered up. Donald Trump wants you to stop talking about it, and he doesn't want any of his friends to be subpoenaed for anything. And these bitches, these bootlicking bitches in Congress are just doing it for him. And the only reason they're able to do this is because of enablers like you. And when you find yourself today looking at James Comer like he's doing the right thing, you are enabling these people getting away with potentially violent, horrific, sexual crimes, violent crimes, and in some cases murder against children. You are enabling that with your partisan bullshit. I am not, Democrats are not, the left is not. Not one person on the left has said, don't investigate a person on the left. Not one Democratic senator has said, don't bring in the Clintons, don't bring in Bill Gates. Not one. It is only your party covering it up. It is only your party who refuses to bring in Republicans. And if you can't get on board with that, then I would refer you to like 10 minutes ago where I spent 5 minutes calling you fucking pathetic, bootlicking bitches. Because that's what you are.
Went to the island with his wife and kids and would never go back. He went somewhere. I don't know if it's the island, but he went somewhere with that.
Thanks, Marty.
He said that before. So you don't want to subpoena them?
I did that for you.
Or don't you care to learn if they...
I've subpoenaed the former Republican Attorney General Bill Barr for a hard-hitting deposition, and we subpoenaed Alex Acosta, who served in the Trump administration. How many Republicans did Jamie Raskin subpoena when he has... How many Republicans did the Democrats subpoena?
For what? For what? For January 6th? Is he talking about January 6th? What Democrat should have been subpoenaed for January 6th? You mean, what name? Pelosi? She didn't need to be subpoenaed. She was there. She's on the record. There was a video of her. Who were these Democrats that needed to be subpoenaed for a Republican's attempt to overthrow the government? How come you didn't call in the Democrats and to ask them about our attempts to overthrow the election, huh? It's always whataboutism, because James Comer knows that he's cornered here, and he knows where he's at. He knows what he's doing, and he can't give up his power. He is a coward. He's unwilling to speak against Donald Trump because he wants to maintain power.
This is a bipartisan investigation. That's why a majority of Democrats on the Oversight Committee voted for this.
It's my time, Mr. Chair. You can spread all the propaganda you want in your committee, but it's my time in this committee, and I'm asking the questions. So the answer is no, that you're not going to subpoena.
I don't even know what the question is.
It was very. Are you going to subpoena Howard Lutnick or Steve Bannon? Or
why don't I complain now when Democrats try to overthrow the government? Let me know when the Democrats try and overthrow the government, and then we'll see if I have a problem with it.
Elon Musk.
We'll subpoena anyone that the evidence leads us to.
Is that yes?
If the evidence, we'll talk about it with the committee. We don't just pull subpoenas out of our butts like Jamie Raskin would do.
Well, he's real mad at Jamie Raskin.
Chairman Comer, the Oversight Committee issued a subpoena to Attorney General Bondi more than 5 months ago.
I subpoenaed Pam Bondi for the Epstein documents.
Madam Chair, can you muzzle the witness, please? I mean, Chairman Comer, the Oversight Committee issued a subpoena to Attorney General Bondi more than 5 months ago.
What they do in Minnesota is an insurrection. Yeah, I have called for everybody in Minnesota who commits a crime to be prosecuted. If you assault an ICE officer, you should be prosecuted. What more do you want me to say? If you don't commit a crime, you can sit there and protest. You can say whatever mean words you want, but if you assault an ICE officer, you should be prosecuted. There you go. You happy now?
Requiring her to produce all of the Epstein files to Congress by August 19th, 2025. Yes or no? As of right now, has Attorney General Bondi fully complied with the subpoena?
We're still reviewing the 3 million documents to see if that's all of the
So
documents
answer
or
is
not.
no.
It's important.
Just 1 minute, if I could. I'm going to ask you all not to talk over each other.
Poor Virginia Fox. Now, I appreciate her bringing order here. Poor Virginia Fox. She's lost. I'm going to say something I never thought I would ever say in my entire life. I don't know how many years Virginia Fox has left, but Virginia Fox is about to ask an honest-to-God question. She's going to admit that she doesn't know something that she absolutely should know, and she's going to ask an honest-to-God question, and that is the bar for Republicans. It is so low that when somebody stops and asks a legitimate question, I celebrate. I'm like, fuck yeah, Virginia Fox.
But I do have a question something I'd like to ask, if you'd let me real quickly.
I'm happy to
real
yield to the
quickly.
chair.
Thank you. People keep saying, have all the files been released? Does somebody have a total
No.
of the files? How?
Nancy Pelosi was given information by the CIA that the attack on January 6th, 2 days in advance on the 4th, and denied Trump's support of National Guard, says Randall. How does Randall still exist, guys? How does he still exist? I'm about to piss off my whole audience, Randall. I'm about to piss them all off. I've got a couple problems with your statement. One, it wasn't from the CIA. It was from the FBI. And that means if Nancy Pelosi had that information, then Donald Trump also had that information. And that means Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., also had that information. Now, the way the structure of our government works, I live in Arizona. If we need to call in the National Guard, the governor of Arizona calls in the National Guard because this is a state. And the National Guard in each state is overseen by the governor. Good on that? Washington, D.C. is not a state. Washington, D.C. does not have a governor. We have laws when it comes to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is under the administration of the D.C. National Guard. I think it's commanding general. And the commanding general of the D.C. National Guard reports to the Secretary of the Army, who reports to the Secretary of Defense, who reports to the President. In order for Nancy Pelosi to be able to call in National Guard troops or decline National Guard troops, the President would need to be incapacitated because now we have a line of succession. In order for the Speaker of the House to be in charge of the National Guard, the President must be incapacitated and the Vice President must be incapacitated. And then and only then is the Speaker of the House in charge of the National Guard. You have to be absolutely fucking unaware of how our Constitution works, how our military works, how the chain of leadership works, to be convinced that Nancy Pelosi has any ability to decline the National Guard. And now you're going to say, what about the video? In the video, she is talking about Capitol Police. And what she says in the video is, I wish I would have had them more prepared. And she deserves a hell of a lot of criticism for that. And she deserves some of the blame for not having Capitol Police ready to fight against Donald Trump's supporters who he sent to the fucking Capitol. When Donald Trump stood on that stage and said, march down to the Capitol, and yeah, he said peacefully and patriotically, he also said fight like hell. But when he told them to march down to that Capitol, he had the same intelligence, in fact, more intelligence than Nancy Pelosi. He knew in advance that people were planning to be violent. He knew that. And he was in control of the National Guard the entire fucking time. And you can see it. It's on video. You can watch Nancy Pelosi. You can watch Chuck Schumer. You can watch Jim Jordan. You can watch Lindsey Graham. You can watch Mike Pence calling, desperately trying to get a hold of the president, calling his chief of staff saying, please send in the National Guard. Please send in the National Guard. And Trump wouldn't take their phone calls. And this is, again, why America laughs and why we get so frustrated with you. Because all it takes is a basic understanding of how our laws work and how our Constitution operates for you to know that there's no fucking scenario where Nancy Pelosi could refuse National Guard. You've been told that and you believed it because you're either fucking dumb or you're fucking lazy. But it's not true. And to prove it, Randall, get out your phone, pick your browser of choice, DuckDuckGo, Google, Grok, whoever the fuck you trust, and Google, did Nancy Pelosi refuse the National Guard on January 6th? And it will tell you no. And if you aren't a total and complete sycophant, you'll change your mind. Don't be fucking dumb. You're an adult human being. You paid me $5 to say something dumb, and I'm offering you the ability to not sound like a dipshit the rest of your life. Google it. Any MAGA that's here, fucking Google it right goddamn now. I'll do it with you. We'll go to Grok. We'll go to Twitter. You guys fucking love Grok. Oh, it's the free speech platform. I'm going to go over here to Grok now. Did Nancy Pelosi, oh, I got caps locks on, refuse the National Guard on January 6th? What do you think it's going to say? Can you read? I have concerns, Randall, that because you wrote that sentence, that you're not a great reader, but you spelled everything correctly. So let's see. God damn, this is a shitty AI, by the way. It takes so fucking long. But we'll wait. Play an ad while we're like, nobody's as soft as a conservative. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Those conservative men are soft as shit. That's why every time you go to a conservative podcast, it's like, and now to our sponsor, Blue Chew. Your dick can work again. You don't have to scream at women when your dick doesn't work. This'll fix it. No, Nancy Pelosi did not refuse to deploy the National Guard on January 6th. This claim, often promoted by former President Trump and some Republican lawmakers, has been repeatedly debunked by fact-checkers, official timelines, and testimonies as inaccurate or misleading. Pelosi, as House Speaker at the time, was not directly responsible for Capitol security decisions or National Guard approvals. Those fell to the U.S. Capitol Police and the Capitol Police Board. Here's a breakdown based on official records and recounts. You can read that yourself. This is not that hard. It is not hard for you not to sound like fucking idiots. I don't know how so many of you believe things that are so easily debunked with a simple Google search. And you know what? I have a sneaking suspicion, Randall, if you're still here, I have a sneaking suspicion that this won't change his mind. Interesting. Thanks. So is FBI, not CIA. Randall, answer the rest of this. How do you respond to this? Imagine just for a second being in my role right now and having to do this hundreds of times. Hundreds of times I've had to do this. Randall, what's your response to this? Yeah, you're still here. I can still see your comments, Randall. You're still here. Don't pretend like you got blocked right now and run from this. Nobody blocked you. I'm reading your comments. What's your response to this? What do you mean, well, it's interesting? What do you mean, well, it's interesting, Randall? I'm wrong. I was wrong. That's what you should be saying right now. Donald Trump controlled the National Guard, and I can show you the actual letter that proves this too. Jesus. Oh, actually, it's January 4th. And now that you guys have seen this, for 1 sec, I wish for 1 second you would drop the fucking act and ask yourself why Donald Trump keeps saying this. It's obviously untrue. It's provably untrue. There's nothing that says that it's true. This was a response on January 4th from Christopher Miller, who was the acting Secretary of Defense. He was responding to Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., who can request that the National Guard be there. And she requested that the National Guard be on standby on January 5th and 6th because they had they had the same information that you're talking about right now. This is Christopher Miller now saying, what do you mean I'm doing it? That's fine. I'll go back to the Epstein files. This memorandum responds to your January 4th request, memorandum regarding the District of Columbia request for District of Columbia National Guard support in response to planned demonstrations from January 5th to January 6th. As Christopher Miller says, speaking to Muriel Bowser, the mayor, you are authorized to approve the requested support subject to my guidance below and subject to consultation with the Attorney General as required by that executive order. He says, unless I approve, without my subsequent personal authorization, unless you hear directly from me, the DC National Guard is not authorized to do any of the following. They can't be issued weapons, ammunitions, bayonets, batons, ballistic protection equipment, helmets, or body armor. They can't interact physically with protesters except in self-defense or defense of others. They can't employ any riot control agents. They can't share equipment with law enforcement agencies. They can't use ISR to conduct ISR or incident awareness and assessment activities. They can't employ helicopters or air assets. They can't conduct searches, seizures, arrests, or similar direct law enforcement activity. They cannot cannot seek support from any non-DC National Guard units. So you can authorize them to do this, but if they're going to engage in pushing back these rioters, if they're going to engage in acting as crowd support, he says, at all times, not sometimes, not occasionally, at all fucking times, the National Guard will remain under the operational and administrative command and control of the commanding general of the DC National Guard, who reports to the Secretary of Defense through the Secretary of the Army, which is Ryan McCarthy, who was the Secretary of the Army at the time. And the Secretary of Defense obviously reports directly to the President. Look at Pete Hegseth. He says this every day. I serve at the pleasure of the President. There is no scenario where Nancy Pelosi could activate or decline DC National Guard troops. You got lied to, Randall. Admit it. I would love to see a lot of you guys admit this, but it's getting pathetic at this point. Thanks for sharing with me some information on that very horrifying day. I'm still here. I don't shy with learning when I'm wrong. Still conservative. Fair enough. I don't care if you're conservative or not. I appreciate that. But you've got to start looking at Trump and fact checking the things he says. I'll give you a challenge, Randall. I'll give you a challenge for a week. Every time you hear Donald Trump say something, fact check it. Write it down. How many of the things that he said are provably true? You're going to be alarmed at how often he's lying to you. But I appreciate you saying that. That was big of you to say that. W. Randall in the chat for saying that. Back to James Comer.
Is anybody ever going to know how many?
Remember where we were at? They're trying to figure out how many documents there actually were in the Epstein files. Comer is saying they've released all of them. That's not true.
Madam Chair, when this started 5 or 6 months ago, it was suggested that there were between 100 and 300,000 files. We've already had released over 3.1 million files.
Okay, now, Mr. McGovern.
Mr. Walkinshaw, why don't you respond,
The
please?
direct answer to your question, Madam Chairwoman, is yes, we do have a number. And we have a number because the Trump administration, the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, said there are 6 million files. They collected 6 million files. Now, he says they over-collected, so they've only released 3 million. The law does not allow them to subjectively determine that 3 million of the Epstein files that are in his possession, which he said were over-collected. Mr. McGovern, though, asked a question about the Oversight Committee's subpoena and the Attorney General's compliance with that subpoena. That's separate from the release of files that we've seen publicly, because the Oversight Committee's subpoena does not have the same list of allowed redactions that the legislation that we all voted for has. She's produced to this committee only 30,000 pages of documents, not 3 million, not 6 million. She's out of compliance with the subpoena and not following the law requiring the release of all 6 million documents.
This is a coordinated cover-up. Pam Bondi doesn't release what they're supposed to. Republicans refuse to hold her accountable and lie. Oh, Randall, I might have missed that before. I'm a conservative. I think the Democrats are using the island as a smokescreen to cover up the fraud happening across the U.S. like the California homeless. No, that's silly, Randall. It's honestly silly. This is the biggest story in the country. It's the biggest story in the world. Everybody cares about this story. Nobody's doing it to cover up fraud. Ask yourself, Randall, is it possible that Republicans are using that fraud to cover up for the Epstein files? Because nobody's actually covering up fraud. The stuff in Minnesota, 0 charges since have come from Nick Shirley's reporting. I challenge you to do this, Randall, as well. Go back and look. Type in, go for whatever date it was that Nick Shirley did his expose. You can go to Google and you can adjust the times or the timestamps. Go into Google and type in Minnesota fraud and set the dates for before Nick Shirley did that expose. And I think you'll be shocked to realize how many left-wing sources actually covered that long before Nick Shirley did. But the day that Nick Shirley released that video was the same day that Pam Bondi was supposed to release the Epstein files, and she didn't. And the biggest story in the country was fraud in Minnesota. That's a cover-up. It was amplified by Elon Musk. It was amplified by the vice president, by the president. Every Republican on Twitter and on social media amplified that story on the same day that Pam Bondi failed to comply with the law. And it was a story that had already been reported. And I'll just make that challenge to you too there, Randall. Go back, set the dates on Google, and go back and look. Had anybody reported on this before? And who was it? You'll be surprised to see it's CBS, it's ABC, it's MSNBC, it's CNN. It was everybody. It's just that you guys didn't actually care until it was amplified and shoved down your throats by Elon Musk and all these right-wingers that own all of these social media platforms. And on the day that Pam Bondi was supposed to release these files, they distracted you with this. So I'm okay considering what you're asking. I don't think that's true because I think the Epstein files is a bigger story, but I also want to add that there is no coordinated cover-up of those stories. None. Or investigations. Nobody has tried to stop any investigations into the fraud in Minnesota or in California. Nobody has. But Republicans have tried to stop this investigation. They're not complying with the law. So you're comparing right now what you see as a media blackout not covering this, and you're saying that is the corruption. The media is corrupt. And what we're comparing here is not media corruption. This is government corruption. The government is covering this up. If you want to say the media is not covering it enough, that's fair. That's an opinion. I'm cool with that. But this is a government cover-up. The government isn't covering up those other frauds. Tim Walz created a committee specifically to look into that fraud years ago. And they have arrested and prosecuted a lot of people, hundreds of people, for fraud in Minnesota. They continue to work on it as we speak.
Can we talk about this? I'm interested in getting to a number. So, well, I'm curious. Okay, so she's released over 3 million, you said, Mr. Chair.
Only thing I took from working for DHS was the trust but verify mindset they instilled in us. I hope everyone lives this way. That'd be cool.
just released $3
Oh,
million.
I missed some. I'm so sorry. Zen Master said, get him. Chris said, expose all peds, Dem or Republican. Thank you. And Jen, so much. Agreed. Got that one. Okay, I think I got those. Those. Sorry. I think I got them all. All right, we're good.
In addition to the I don't know, 30-something thousand a few months ago.
And Mr. McGovern, you said we know the number? Is that what you said?
The Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, President Trump's former personal lawyer, said that there are 6 million files. He's choosing to release only 3 million, and he's choosing to heavily redact that 3 million.
So should we hold Pam Bondi in contempt?
She is turning over documents, and what they said is they turned over documents every.
She's not following the law, not willing to hold her in contempt. Well, I'll leave it there. There's another like 15 minutes there that kind of gets into some stuff that's not that important. But once again, the start of this conversation was we have to hold the Clintons in contempt for violating the law by not complying with the subpoena, which you could argue whether they are or not complying with the subpoena because their lawyers have been negotiating back and forth. The date has been moved, but with these subpoenas, that's regular. Pam Bondi is in open defiance of the law, and they refuse to bring her in, to subpoena her. Why? You know why. You all know the answer. It's because she's covering for Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't want you to talk about this anymore. I want to show you evidence of that. Donald Trump is crashing out, and this isn't anything new, but it's alarming, and if you are a person who understands even the smallest bit what misogyny is and what a misogynist Donald Trump is, you will recognize this for what it is. It is Donald Trump being, one, upset that he's being asked a question about the Epstein files, and two, then projecting that through his misogyny onto Caitlin Collins. Caitlin Collins is asking a question that literally all of us want to know. What are we going to do about the people that are in these Epstein files? And Trump is telling his people, you, shut the fuck up. Stop talking about this. I don't want to talk about this anymore. He's lying to you repeatedly. Every day he says, I'm not in the files. There's nothing in there about me. In fact, he says, the only thing that's in there about me is that Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein were working together to try and bring me down. He's in there 6,000 times. And multiple times, he's accused of green lighting murder. He's accused of rape. He's accused of sexual assault. He's accused of trafficking. He's accused of covering up other crimes. He's accused of money laundering, I think, through Jeffrey Epstein. He's accused of a lot of things. And I'm with you, MAGA, by saying like, not an accusation is not a guilty verdict. But we should look into all of these claims. Maybe he'll be exonerated. Maybe he won't. But when he tells you, I'm not in these files, that's an unequivocal lie. And when he tells you to shut up about the files, I don't know why some of you aren't asking, what? Why? Why does he want us not to talk about these Epstein files? Randall said, I got to go haul some food as a local truck driver. I'll be signing off, but aside, thank you. I enjoyed my stay. I try to see both sides' views. Thank you, Randall. Stay safe. Here's Caitlin Collins asking Donald Trump a very simple and obvious question.
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was...
You're saying he didn't say these things? Oh, you're going to be pissed off when you hear this quote. Donald Trump didn't say the things that I'm about to show you, he said.
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and correspondence that he had with him. Did you...
Who shrugs at that? Elon's in there, Howard Lutnick? What kind of psychopath shrugs at that shit? I'm lying? Oh, Lolly, I've got receipts. Don't worry about it.
Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I have a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who were...
There were major headlines.
Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
The fact that they thought they released too much. You know, I heard that, and you tell me something else. So, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really. You know, now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally by Epstein and other people. But
Nothing came. Where are we at, Lolly? Did I lie about that? There's Donald Trump saying nothing came out about me. Wrong.
I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
Great question. Just because the name is associated with Epstein doesn't mean the person committed a crime. Are you listening? Are you capable of listening? I said he's accused of crimes. And they should be investigated. Are you saying that we should not investigate an accusation of a horrific crime against Donald Trump? Is that that's what you guys are saying? That's what Trump's saying. Don't investigate any claims against me. Just move on.
Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
You are the worst
Question is, what would you say to survivors who feel like they haven't got justice? Is he going to respond to that? No, he's going to instead attack, because this is a small man. It's I find it pathetic that women support him specifically. Like I'm used to, like, I grew up with conservative men. Misogyny's that's nothing new. This is a small, pathetic, insecure man. And he's being asked questions he doesn't want to answer. So he's going to now attack a woman who had a great career. She's built a great career for herself. She started as a field reporter. She's worked her way up. As far as CNN goes, she does very well. She's one of the most prominent journalists in the world. And she's simply asking a question that we all want the answers to. And this pathetic, geriatric psychopath can't handle a tough question without insulting a reporter.
President.
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for...
Smile, Toots. How come you're not smiling when you're asking questions about people who were trafficked? Give me a smile, baby. Why not a little smile?
10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
I'm asking you about survivors.
You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth. And you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you.
These are survivors.
I'm ashamed of that guy. Fucking small, insecure, bitch-made, nepo baby, can't handle a tough question, attack the journalist. What a pathetic existence that our president is. How pathetic that we have to be represented by such an obvious piece of shit. To get that angry that somebody asked you a question that is a good question. Suddenly you can't ask the president what he would say to the women who feel like they're not getting justice after they were kidnapped, trafficked, raped, and in some cases murdered, and they feel like they're not getting justice. What do you say to those women? And Trump goes on a tirade about how much he hates the fake news. What a pathetic existence to condone that, to agree with that. You have to have an entire cult mindset to think that this is normal behavior, that it's acceptable behavior. This is perhaps, as far as interviews go with Trump, this is perhaps one of his lowest moments. To just absolutely shit on the survivors whose lives were turned upside down. We all get one life. And shit happens to all of us. And sometimes we have shit that happens to us that affects us for the rest of our life. And some shit that happened to me, like I still carry with, it's nothing compared to what these women now are carrying because of what happened to them as children by powerful men. And that's a fair fucking question to ask. What do you say to those women who don't feel like they're getting justice? And he just shits on the reporter. This is one of the most pathetic, disgusting human beings I've ever seen in my life. And for you who wear the crosses around your neck, for you who talk about protecting women by keeping trans people out of women's sports, for you who talk about protecting the family and caring about children and not wanting to indoctrinate children. Yeah, well, look, perhaps indoctrination isn't near as bad as trafficking. But this guy doesn't fucking care. He's built an entire movement around his feelings, and you just coalesced around it. We will adopt everything that you do, Donald. This is a pathetic moment as a United States citizen. This guy has embarrassed us a million times, but this is perhaps one of the lowest of lows. Because it's not really about Caitlin Collins. He's went after her before. He does this shit to her all the time when he doesn't like a question that she asks. But he's doing it on the back of a question that simply asks, as President of the United States, as somebody who stood on a debate stage and said, I will be your voice, women. I will be your protector. The world will be a safer place for you because I am president. For that man to then attack her instead of answering a very valid question is one of the most disgusting, pathetic things I've ever seen any politician say ever. And if you're with this, like from the bottom of my heart, go fuck yourself. Take a look in the mirror and realize that the person you're looking at in the mirror is somebody who is enabling the cover-up of systemic abuse by the richest, most powerful people in this world. And all because you think Donald Trump was the best candidate and you can't find it in your heart to criticize him. It's a cult. I wish we had a better word, honestly. I wish we had a better word for what this is, but it's fucking sick. You are sick in the fucking head if you watch this and you side with Donald Trump. I'm not going to look at the chat because it will infuriate me. I have a daughter. You have moms. Every person in here has a mom. Most of you have sisters, wives, kids, whatever it might be. Any one of your children could have been these children. Any one of them. This could have been your mom, your sister, your wife. It could have been any of them. And to think, after watching them struggle their entire life, that you would support this piece of shit speaking this way to a reporter for asking a fair question and actively covering up for Jeffrey Epstein. Why would he cover up for Jeffrey Epstein? That's the question that you all seem too fucking afraid to ask yourself. Why is this administration covering it up? There's only one fucking answer, and you know the fucking answer, and the answer is because they're involved. This administration was involved. However involved you might think they are, like, we got to figure that out, but holy fucking shit are they involved, and their friends are involved, and the people that they work with overseas are involved. And so they've decided that it's more important that they don't get unmasked than that these women get justice. And frankly, that's what criminals do. Very rarely, almost never, does somebody who abuses children or murders somebody have the ability to stop that investigation on their own. And Donald Trump is in that position where he's in the files and he gets to stop the prosecution on his own. He shouldn't have a say in this. He should be recused. He shouldn't be able to tell Pam Bondi what to do, but he gets to. And you go along with it. Why? Stubborn? Don't want to admit you were wrong? I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's pathetic, it's gross, it's embarrassing, and you should be deeply, deeply ashamed of yourselves. We'll move on here to more stuff in the Epstein files. Here's how Poland is handling this. Now, there's going to be subtitles here. MAGA, you may need, I don't know, call your mom or something. We're going to have to read here. But here's what's happening in Poland, and I'll read it out loud. More and more, I'm going to turn it down because this is tough for me when the sound's going. More and more leads, more and more information, and more comments in the global press and media are pointing to suspicions that this unprecedented pedophilia scandal was co-organized by Russian intelligence services. Mr. Epstein apparently had unlimited access to large sums of money. The sources and origins of this money remain unclear. He worked with many young Russian women whom he pimped out. That was how this business began. No one can answer the question of why it was so easy. In the spotlight, in fact. There are over 1,000 documents directly concerning Vladimir Putin in the documents published so far. 9,000 concerning Moscow. I'm talking about the Russian political environment. The FBI claims that it had information that Mr. Epstein managed part of Vladimir Putin's assets. Hold on, we like Russia now? No. God, I swear, you guys can't comprehend anything. I'm just beginning to think that like our country's just full of idiots. They are being critical of Russia right here. What do you mean we like Russia now? They're criticizing Russia and Putin. Jesus Christ. Unless maybe you're saying like MAGA likes Russia now. Maybe that's what you're saying. Maybe I misunderstood. It is known that Epstein archived all his messages, emails, documents, videos, and photos. He recorded and filmed influential Western leaders, presidents, prime ministers, and leaders of the world's largest companies. It's exactly what Russia did, compromise. It's what Epstein did. They put you in compromising situations. A lot of times it's as simple as getting you, filming you having sex. You didn't know that they were filming you, and now they have compromise on you. And just so we're clear, like that's how easy it is for a lot of these American politicians. Think of it. Have you ever heard of an American politician come out and say, I cheated on my spouse? Yes, you have, right? How many times have they come out and said it before the story broke? Never. Never. They get caught and then they admit it. They know that this is the easiest way to compromise our officials is catch them having an affair. It can be as simple as that. And then those officials will do small favors for you. And those small favors add up. And that's what Epstein did. And that's what Russia does. That's what Israel does. They compromise people and they record it. And then they get them to do their bidding. Didn't Anthony Weiner get caught first? More and more commentators and experts assume that it is very likely that this was a planned operation by the Russian KGB. The so-called honey trap, or honeypot, a sweet lure, a trap set for the elites of the Western world, mainly the United States. See how easy it is for these people to see through it clearly when they aren't beholden to Donald Trump? Stephanie said Pam Bondi needs to be in prison with Maxwell. Steffelson said anyone in here trying to do damage control for Trump and Epstein are anti-American traitors and they should be ashamed of themselves. Danielle said some of the testimony was signed under the penalty of perjury with threat of 8 years in prison if they lied. We should at least report their story as true. Agreed. I'm going to get to that story in a second here. Guy Fox says at least we know Trump physically can't golf anymore, which means the big beautiful day is just around the corner. Jesus. I didn't know that. Has he not been golfing? I haven't paid attention to that. But his health has been declining, so that makes sense. Jennifer said, great show today. I appreciate that, Jennifer. Didn't miss that. Amber said, to be fair, many of the accusations are directly from victims to the FBI, so direct testimony, right? Exactly. Tanya, thank you very much. What do we got left? About 30 minutes left. We'll go a little extra today. Just a reminder that we're crowdfunding. We've almost got that gift goal knocked out. And if we did a dollar train for the rest of the 30 minutes, we'd knock that out in a hurry. I'll update that here as soon as I get to the next video. Sorry, this shit weighs on me. This is always the part of the live, like the last couple of days. It's been the last like 30 to 45 minutes of the live where it starts to weigh on you. And it's not just the information, which is fucking brutal to read. It's as brutal as that is to read. It feels better when you're around people that are like, this alarms me and we should fix this. But then when you see comment after comment of let's ignore this, that's when it sometimes becomes unbearable. He hasn't played for weeks. I didn't know that. All right. I want to show you this here. This is Devon Politics. And I'm just going to be honest about something. I've seen this letter that he's about to reference. There's a handwritten letter in the Epstein files that mentions Trump, the Saudi elites, and Epstein. And I tried to read it, and it's not I can't read it. It's in cursive, and it's tough to read. And they didn't, when they released these files, if you searched Trump, you didn't find this letter. They didn't tag Trump or the Saudis in any of this, which again is against the law. It's again them covering up. They're either completely incompetent or they're covering up. And I think that given that they generally fuck up when it's covering for Trump, we can guess what it is. But somebody finally transcribed it. And again, this is, I want to give them credit. What was Devon Politics put this video together. It's alarming. Trigger warning.
This has to be one of the most important
Oh shit, I got to turn that up.
files. It's a 32-page letter that alleges Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and the Saudi elites all had ties and operated together. The DOJ actually deleted this file from their website yesterday, but thankfully it's been reposted. Take a look. Here's one of the pages. As you can see, it's kind of hard to read. I was able to transcribe it though, and that's what I'm going to show you. If you want
Walter says, fuck the maggots, keep up the good work. Thank you.
to take a look at the whole thing for yourself though, all 32 pages, you can look up the file number right there on the DOJ's website and it should come up. The individual describes all of these events taking place at a house in New Jersey. They allege their father sent investigators to Seaside Heights, New Jersey, and found exactly what she told them to be true, including all of the firearms and ammunition stashed in the house, as well as claw marks where she allegedly clawed her way out of the room that she was locked in. These events took place when the individual was in high school. Now here comes the part about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She ended up getting pregnant. This was not the plan. They wanted to sell her to the Epstein bunch through Donald Trump. In the bedroom they had her locked up in, there were panels, and it was also close to the garage door.
Again, I lightly said trigger warning. I need you to know that what you're about to hear is deeply violent, disturbing, and tough to hear. So prepare yourselves, or maybe take a break, because it's not great stuff to hear.
Door. So when Donald Trump came, he didn't even have to step foot inside of the house. They just raised up the garage door and opened the panel so he could look at her. Donald Trump was standing in the driveway and had a clear view of her allegedly naked and on her knees on the mattress. When he saw her, he laughed and said, "She's pregnant? She doesn't look pregnant." One of the guys said,
I'd like to point out that this letter was before Donald Trump ran for president and before we were really that aware about Jeffrey Epstein.
that she is 2.5 months pregnant. Donald Trump said, "Is she on substances?" And the guy says, "Yes." Trump said, "We don't like for them to be pregnant because we love money. I guess they sell for less if they're pregnant." Then he goes on to say, "A doctor might cause her to miscarry, or if the child is a good-looking bee, we could sell the baby. You said she is religious. The Saudis like the religious ones. We'll disguise it out. You will tape her." One of the guys then tries to assault the girl. I guess they're going to record it, but she raised up her right foot and hurt the guy. Donald then shouted, "Deal's off. We won't take the violent females." And then he departed, saying the deal's off. They asked, "What do we do with her?" Trump shouted, "Feed her to the fishes. I don't care what you do with her." If these allegations are true, then it means Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein coordinated with these.
Now, can we say that these allegations are true? No. Should they be investigated? Absolutely. And that's what the Epstein files are. And Larry, I keep seeing you, I think it was Larry in here. No, it's not. Yeah. Larry, you keep saying things like it's obvious fiction or none of it's been proven. Correct. None of it has been investigated. But for you to say obvious fiction when you don't know the details and there is no investigation, and then accuse other people of being in a cult, you have no details and you have decided that they are untrue because it's obvious. It's only obvious to you because you're sucking Donald Trump's dick. That's what you do. It's a pathetic existence that you live. And you are what's wrong with American men. You pussy fucking bitch. Directly to you, Larry. You are a pussy ass bitch. You're sick, you're a sick fuck, and you worship Donald Trump. If only you cared about women as much as you cared about publicly sucking Donald Trump's dick, then perhaps in this country we wouldn't have such an epidemic of women being abused. But people like you, Larry, can fuck all the way off. You are a sick fuck, and your accusations mean dick. By the way, Larry, banned forever. You sick fucking piece of shit. I hope that you stub your toe every fucking step you take the rest of your miserable fucking life. That's what these Epstein files are. They're accusations that got buried. You know why you never heard this fucking story, Larry? You know why you never fucking heard it? Because they buried it. They never let it out publicly. That's why you didn't hear the story, Larry. That's what the fucking Epstein files are. It's the FBI and the world's elite covering stories, covering it up. The FBI squashing stories, never reporting it, never investigating it. That's what's in these files. And if you weren't such a Trump dick-riding bitch, you wouldn't say dumb shit like that, but you do. All we're saying, Larry, is that we should investigate this shit. No, that's too far for me. It's too far for me to even open up my mind that maybe Donald Trump, this man who I don't know, who's been credibly accused and found liable for sexually abusing women, could do such a thing. I don't know him, but I like him. I see him on TV. I will call all of these people liars rather than just advocate that you investigate. That's all anybody's asking for, Larry, is a motherfucking investigation. And you MAGA scumbags are like, nah, we don't want an investigation. And the reason you don't want an investigation is you are terrified that some of it might be true. And then you're going to have to look yourself in the eye and think back of how many years you spent sucking this guy's dick, buying his t-shirts, buying his flags, arguing with people on the internet, repeating debunked conspiracy theories about who was trafficking children until it turned out to be your dude. Godzilla said, finishing the goal. Want to thank you personally for doing the work you do and putting your mental health on the line. All of this e-file stuff has been destroying my mental health lately, and I hope you're still finding something to balance it out. Stay safe. Thanks. I have a daughter that I love very much, and that's what keeps me somewhat stable. Thanks for saying that, man. Stephenson says, savage. Bye, Larry. Trudy says, love you, RTP. Thank you very much. A couple people joined the Dollar Train. SJ, Kristen, and Jamar. Jamar said, it's beyond me how people could stomach covering up pedophilia. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. I don't get it either. It is sometimes like hard just to be out in the world. And I live in MAGA land, and it's just like, it's weird to watch everybody else just walking around like this isn't happening. And that's largely what like conservative areas in this country have done now, is they've just covered their eyes. If I talk to any of my MAGA friends, they're going to bring up fraud in Minnesota, like that's such a detriment to their life and it's such a scandal compared to this. But yeah, dude, it's tough on my mental. But just be honest, it's tough on my mental health, and I know that I'm not alone, and it's tough on my mental health to cover it. And we know that women in this country, almost every woman in this country has at the very least been engaged in some sort of sexual activity that they didn't give their consent to. Most women have been sexually abused in some way or another. And so as somebody that this has never had to experience this, as a man who's also white, who gets like all the benefits in this society, I can only imagine how it feels for so many of you. And to be honest, how could I not show up and complain about my mental health when I know that for so many of you, this is a much, much bigger deal. And it's devastating to watch so many in this country just fucking ignore it like it didn't happen.
Saudi elites, and who knows how many elitists of other countries. We know Donald Trump is still doing personal business dealings with the Saudis today as he's the president, which are enriching himself and his family to the tune of billions of dollars.
Rat Samantha said, you're a good dad. We appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I try my best to be a good dad. I want to talk about another person who, and even again, like,
it was in the Epstein.
Are we ever going to hold anybody accountable for fucking anything, even when it's obvious? This is Peter Attia. He's famous for a book he wrote about health. And he recently has been hired to an executive position at CBS by Barry Weiss. And it doesn't seem like CBS has any desire to get rid of him. Don't know why. When you hear this story of Peter Attia, it would be obvious that this is not somebody that you would want to be a face of your company, unless you don't really give a fuck about this stuff. If maybe perhaps the reason you were installed at CBS is to protect a specific country in the Middle East.
Famous longevity doctor Peter Attia was in the Epstein files, saying things like, pussy is low carb and I go into JE withdrawal when I don't see him. But there's a lot more. That's just 2 emails, and there are over 1,700 PDFs mentioning Peter Attia in the Epstein files. Let's take a look. Let's start with this one, July 12th, 2017. Peter is confirming in this email that he can meet Epstein the next day. Not that interesting, but...
Sorry, I'll give the credit to him after the video. I forgot to give credit to this content creator.
According to Peter Attia's book, the previous day, July 11th, 2017, was when Peter's wife rushed their 1-month-old infant to the hospital because he had stopped breathing. His wife stayed in the hospital for 4 days, pleading with Peter to come back home, but he said he couldn't because he was busy in New York with important work, which apparently was meeting Jeffrey Epstein. Keep in mind that Jeffrey Epstein was convicted in 2008 of
procuring a minor for prostitution.
Here's another email he sent.
Heather says, fuck you with a hot poker, Larry.
To Epstein, I would really love to add 5 years or more to your life, even if the only reason to do so is to have more sex. Elsewhere, Peter asked Epstein,
this guy can't lose his job. We can't even get this guy. We can't even put enough pressure on this guy to lose his job.
Epstein, are you on island? Epstein said Palm Beach. Peter asked, what do you do when you're there? Epstein said, guess. Peter said, besides that. In one email, Epstein told Peter he wanted to get him in front of the masters of the universe. Wait, so did big connections from Epstein help Peter afford multiple $300,000 watches? It also makes me wonder, how did Peter meet his dear friend Kevin Spacey? What's in the box, Peter? What's in the box? On this redacted picture in an email from Epstein titled, just got a fresh shipment. In that same email thread, Peter...
Why in the world would... Now, interesting, he doesn't add this here, but that picture is blocked out. And when Peter Attia was asked about it, what Peter Attia said is that it was, I don't remember the name, but like some sort of, I think it's like some sort of like a longevity drug. It was a shipment of a longevity drug. Why would that be censored then? That would be against the law. That would be against the Epstein Transparency Act. So either Peter Attia is lying or for some reason they're redacting shit for no reason.
Said, you know the biggest problem with becoming friends with you? The life you lead is so outrageous, and yet I can't tell a soul. He said in another email thread to Epstein, I miss you. Maybe I need to visit you on Palm Beach. Epstein said, good idea. Here's an email showing that Peter stayed at one of Epstein's apartments. Peter claims in his apology tweet from yesterday that he never visited Epstein's island or ranch. Now, that might be true, but he certainly wanted to go to the ranch. A plane ticket was booked for Peter to go to Jeffrey's ranch on August 18th, 2015, but the trip got canceled because Epstein was busy. Peter claims in that same tweet from yesterday that he was repulsed and nauseated with the contents of the November 2018 Miami Herald article on Epstein. But Peter stayed in touch with him for at least another 4 months. On December 4th, 2018, Peter asked, what is fallout from recent story? Epstein said, same as usual, just tougher. Peter asked, legally...
Checking in. Hey, Jeff. This must be tough for you. Must be tough that the press is covering how you are a sex trafficking pedophile. You doing all right there, Jeff? It's tough press coverage, Jeff. Thinking about you. Thoughts and prayers, Jeff.
Any change? Epstein said 0. 3 months later, February 23rd, 2019, Peter was still in touch with Epstein, emailing him with the subject line, where are you these days? Attia claims he was only in touch with Epstein after the article came out so he could get Epstein to be accountable. Now, there's a lot more emails where we don't know what exactly they're referring to, like, that was fun today, but too short, or what a rough night, oh my God. The vast majority of the emails was Peter and Epstein scheduling meetings and phone calls. They talked a lot and were frequently trying to link up whenever they were both in New York.
We're not going to get rid of that guy? That's a real problem we have. Like, it's not just Trump. Like, that doesn't have anything to do with Trump. Now we got a problem here. Now, like, something that women have been telling us all along is that nobody gives a fuck when they're abused. How on earth do those emails exist and that man maintains his job? How does that happen? Because the same people here that are defending Donald Trump and staying quiet don't care. They care if a little bit of they care if some taxpayer money is misappropriated by Democrats. Oh my God, story of the fucking century. But this dude partying with Epstein, talking about their sex parties. His own child is in the hospital, potentially dying, critical condition. His own child, I can't remember what it was, and his wife's begging him to come home. He tells this story in his book, and he tells it as a regret. He's like, I was so busy working that my wife, I was in New York, and she wanted me to come home. I think it was in California, and I told her I couldn't make it home. So for 4 days, his son is in critical condition in the hospital, and in his book, which was a bestseller, and people praised him like, oh, that was so vulnerable of you. He said, I regretted that. Like, I was so focused on my work that I didn't even take care of my kid. And then the Epstein files drop, and we find out he was with Epstein. He was partying with Epstein during that time. That guy, we can't get that guy to lose his job at CBS? What the fuck as a country? Just what the fuck as a country? The second that came out, Barry Weiss should have been like, get him the fuck out. But Barry Weiss was like, well, we're not really into cancel culture. Kelly said, I'm really proud of you. Thanks for standing up for women. And thank you. I appreciate that. It's crazy. Like, it is honestly insane that it's weird to get recognition for doing like literally the bare minimum. It's crazy that there are so many men, bitch-ass men, who are like, oh, I don't know, I don't really care about this. That's not really that big of a deal. We should move on and talk about taxpayer money being wasted. That's why they say it's all men, because how the fuck are women supposed to know? I think that if you would have told anybody in this chat, Republican, Democrat, whatever, if you said like, hey, if next year like there's a list of a bunch of billionaires who were like working with Jeffrey Epstein, you just left Trump out of it. You said there's like a bunch of rich billionaires and they're clearly like hanging out with Epstein. They're talking about sex. They're using weird code words. They're going to his island. They're going to his house. Like there's going to be all these stories that come out about how they're involved in trafficking. Do you think like half our country won't care? They'd probably be like, no, of course, everybody would care. Like, that's what we want. And then it happens, and a lot of people don't care. Fox News still just not even covering it. They're just pretending it didn't exist. I saw last night that, what's his name? Jesse Waters was like, did you know that this congressman is gay? We're doing that? We're back to like, you can't be in Congress if you're gay? But covering up for pedophiles, that's fine. Paul says, as a Canadian, I get angry at the MAGA response and at the level of corruption in your government. But I can't imagine living in the U.S. under the fascist regime in power. Whoops. Thanks for calling it out, even at the cost of your physical and emotional health, Jay. It can't be easy. It's fine. I appreciate you guys' concerns, but everybody's dealing with this the same way. So I'm not special in that way. We're all dealing with it. Mitch, thank you for the super chat. I got about 10 more minutes. I'll finish this off. Then we have the Deputy Attorney General, who has just decided we're not really going to investigate anything. We're just going to cover this whole fucking thing up.
Is there any chance that any of these individuals who partied with Epstein and engaged in relations with minors will be prosecuted? Any chance?
I'll never say no, and we will always investigate any evidence of misconduct. But as you know, it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. And so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things. And if we have...
Patricia, for the last time, and I'm going to assume that you are a woman, I am not saying Trump did it. I'm saying investigate it. Trump is saying don't investigate any of these people. And you are running cover for them by saying, don't investigate. I don't know of a single investigation in the history of the world that starts with, they did it. You investigate to find out if he did something. None of these claims have been investigated, Patricia. So all we're asking for, all the American people are asking for, is simply an investigation. And if you guys were honest, you would call for that investigation too. Why aren't you calling for an investigation? We're not saying that he's guilty or not guilty. Some people might. I don't want to speak for anybody else. I'm not saying he's guilty or not guilty. I'm saying that clearly there are thousands of women who have been trafficked and abused, and some of them are pointing the finger at Donald Trump. And the very least we can do to help these women recover is investigate the claims. And if you can find proof that Donald Trump did something, he should go to prison. And if you can't find proof that he did something, that's our justice system. And some people will still think that he was guilty. It doesn't matter. But that's how our justice system works. Sometimes guilty people walk free. We try our best not to put innocent people in jail. Sometimes that happens too. But what is infuriating to all of us is that you guys won't let the investigation happen. Todd Blanche is telling you specifically, we are not going to investigate a goddamn thing. We are just going to read these, and then we are going to move on. And if any of these allegations included Joe Biden while he was president, the Republicans would have already impeached him. And I think that you know that that's true. And Democrats would have already impeached Trump too if they were in power, and they're not. But you can't complain about partisanship right now. We either stand up for women in this country, we either listen to them when they make accusations and investigate whether or not those accusations are true, or we abandon that forever and just say, you know what, fuck it. We're a patriarchy forever. You can abuse women, you can traffic children. The billionaires in this country can do whatever they want. If we don't investigate, that's the message that is being sent. So I'm just asking you, Patricia, to be open to the idea that Donald Trump might be investigated for something. And you should criticize him when he openly says, let's drop this and not investigate anybody. And you should be critical of Todd Blanche for the same reasons. These women deserve it. Actually, let me take it back. It's not just women. It's men too. There were girls and boys that were both trafficked. And they simply deserve that we hear them out. That's how this country's supposed to work. That's how our justice system is supposed to work. Make a claim, you investigate, you go to court. We know some of them. We know some of them for sure. Some of them have been investigated, and people went to prison. We know that at least some of it has for sure happened. And the stories of those who have secured convictions and those that were never investigated, a lot of those stories are almost identical. We know that the FBI helped cover up Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. We know that they did that in his first jail sentence. We know the FBI intervened and said, hey, lighten up. Alex Acosta has testified to that. We know that they buried stories. So why would we just assume that the FBI wouldn't bury stories about Trump or about any of these powerful people, about Netanyahu, about Putin? Why would we assume that the FBI has just been telling us the truth all this time? We shouldn't. Have some courage. Be willing to say Donald Trump should be investigated for anything that is in these files. And if you can find evidence that he did some of it, investigate it further. And if you can't, that's the tough reality for some of these people. There are a lot of people in these files who are going to have investigations, if they get investigations, who will not secure convictions because there will not be any evidence that can prove it. And some people are probably guilty who are never going to face accountability at all. They won't go to prison. But the very least we can do is the investigation. And that's where MAGA loses me, where they're saying, don't do the investigation. Don't even look into it.
Evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But it's also the kind of thing that the American people need to understand, that it isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. It isn't a crime to have
Didn't look like that's all that was going on some of those photos. I mean, if the photos could speak, some of them look pretty bad.
That's right. And unfortunately, photos can't speak. And so we need witnesses and we need
evidence. Are there videotapes that you...
We have witnesses. They're just going to brush this off. Unfortunately, nothing we can do. It's not a crime to party with Epstein. Just not even going to look into it. Thank you, Mitch. Tiffany said, well said, it's devastating. I have 2 girls. Watching men in their life ignore this is giving me a great checklist of people to walk away from. Yeah. Yeah, you know, for being frank, like, I don't necessarily... I'm not with my daughter's mom. And so I don't necessarily have full control over the men in her life or what they think. And if we're being honest, that part of it is the hardest. And I'm not trying to like go after my daughter's mom. She's an incredible person. One of my best friends is my best friend. But there are people in my life that I've been shocked, like people that I thought like good stand-up people who are saying this type of stuff, and you never know. And you know, I grew up in a cult that turned a blind eye to abuse victims. And these were people that I trusted. They were my leaders in church. They were my scout leaders. They were school teachers, basketball, soccer coaches. They were friends of my family. And then when abuse showed up, they turned a blind eye. And I agree. For those of us that have children, specifically daughters, like how do you walk through like life and go through this period of time and have any confidence at all about the people that are around your child? Anybody who's not openly talking about this, anybody who's not shouting from the rooftops, or at the very least acknowledging this, like I can't trust them anymore. How the fuck could we? How could you trust somebody who's watching this and says nothing? Just, well, that's life. Better move on. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for these men, but it's reality for women. So, yeah, raising a daughter, that's a motherfucker. How do you know? How many people do you know in your life that you're like, man, I trusted that person my whole life, and then boom, allegation. You're like, what the fuck? That guy? Every time you see one of these things happen, it's like, I never saw this coming. I mean, I've told you the story before, but if you've been here for a while, you know, like if you know the name Lori Vallow, she's somebody here in Arizona that had her husband murdered by her brother, and then she murdered her own kids. She got a new husband. They murdered her new husband's wife so that they could be together. And I knew her. I didn't know, I wasn't like super close with her, but like I knew her. I'd been around her, and her nephew, or I guess her niece's husband, was my business partner, one of my close friends. And then they tried to kill him. And this was a lady who had been around the kids. Everybody trusted with the kids. She watched the kids all the time. And all of a sudden, she's just murdering everybody. And what was crazy is like people around her, they were split. I'm watching my friend who, like, we know who tried to shoot him. We know they tried to take his life. And people around us that had known him their entire lives were like, I don't know, he might be making that up. I don't know if I trust this story. This seems made up to me. Eventually went to court, and it was proven that it did happen. But Jesus Christ, man, people are just so uncomfortable being uncomfortable. And it is uncomfortable to acknowledge that sometimes the people around you do evil things, regardless of their religious beliefs, their political beliefs, and regardless of what you thought about that person. And I think that sometimes, especially as men, we are far too comfortable holding on to our opinions of people with what we believe and what we feel versus what reality is telling us. It should be very easy to abandon your opinion of somebody when they do something horrific. And it should give you pause when somebody is accused of something horrific. There's nothing wrong with deciding when somebody is accused of something to say, you know what? Now I've got to reserve judgment. I'm going to take what I used to believe, and I'm going to hold that back, and I'm going to see how this plays out. And I'm going to reserve my judgment of this person because maybe, just maybe, I could be duped. And alarmingly, for Trump supporters, like, how the fuck, you don't know him? How the fuck are you so convinced that you weren't duped? Just take one step back. You don't have to say, like, I hate Trump, he's the worst person in the world. But a step back and say, we should look into this. That's literally all anybody's asking for. And it seems a bridge too far for so many of you. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. Barbara said, great show yesterday and today. Thank you so much. That was very generous, Barbara. Amber said, victims say it is strange they only released the new interviews from 2017, 2018. The original reports are from the 90s and early 2000s. Why? Good question. They asked Todd Blanche, why? Just because we're not going to release the rest. Why? We're just not going to. Did I miss all those? I think I got those. All right, we'll wrap up here. Let me make sure I got everything. Alex said, let's see. Appreciate that. I won't read that. I think that might be from Zach. I can't read the message. It says unable to load receipt. I don't know what happened there, Zach, but I can't read it for some reason. Maybe a problem with Cash App, but thank you very much. All right, guys. We will see you. Oh, one more thing. The new thing is they got paid and signed NDAs, which is insane. Yeah. We can't release it because of NDAs. Sure you can. All right, guys. We'll be back tomorrow morning, every weekday morning, 8:30 a.m. to noon Pacific Standard Time, right here, wherever you watch the show today. I appreciate your support. We might be back on TikTok tomorrow. We may not. Just a reminder, we do have paid subscriptions, and that's a great way for us to kind of understand where we're at financially as we move forward. You see the edits that we put out, like for YouTube Shorts. It's me. I do them. I suck at it. Eventually, we would love to be able to to edit our content a little bit better. So having a base of paid subscribers gives us an idea of whether or not we can move in that direction. So consider being a paid subscriber either on YouTube and Twitch. We try and do special events for you that are different than what we do on the show. We do movie nights, and I'm going to start doing congressional hearings where we'll watch those as member-only events. You have paid subscription options, like I said, on all three of those. In the meantime, I looked yesterday, 50% of the people who watch our show every day, a significant part of our show, are not subscribed to the channel. So do me a favor, if you like the show, whether you like me or not, if you're here every day, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. That's free to do. And when you see our content pop up, if you comment or message, that just helps our show get pushed out more into the algorithm, and it would mean the world to me. I think that's it. We have merch in our bio. We have the healthcare hoodie, which I wore yesterday. You can check that out. We also have t-shirts, cups, all sorts of shit like that. I'm on Cameo. You can catch us there. If you want an invite to the Discord, message Jen. She can get you in on over there. That's free as well. It's an awesome community full of like-minded people. It is not a community for people who are MAGA. It's just more of a place for people to go and feel like they have a community where they can discuss things openly and honestly. Check that out. Replays are available on Twitch and YouTube and Spotify, so you can catch us there anytime. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Take care of your mental health. If grass is available to you, go outside and touch grass. If not, fuck snow. That's some bullshit. But take care of yourselves. Hug a loved one. Drink plenty of water. Say nice things about yourself. Stay cute and cool. And have a great summer.